7 types of divine-grade divine power. 100,000 high-grade divine crystals was equivalent to 10 billion mid-grade divine crystals. As for how many low-grade divine crystals it was equivalent to, it was an astronomical figure. Upon hearing this number, Lu Ming was also shocked. The old man also looked at Lu Ming with a smile. Even a low-level divine king would not be able to afford such a price. He was certain that Lu Ming would not be able to afford so many divine crystals. Sigh, what a pity. I can't directly buy the first level. Lu Ming also sighed in his heart. In fact, he only needed to buy the first level of these divine techniques. However, there was a rule here that if he wanted to buy, he could only buy the whole book. After sighing, Lu Ming took out a few storage rings and fiddled with them. Then, he handed one to the old man. Senior, the low-grade, mid-grade, and high-grade divine crystals in here are exactly the same as 100,000 high-grade divine crystals. Lu Ming said, "Do you really have that many divine crystals?" The old man was skeptical. He took Lu Ming's storage ring and scanned it with his spiritual senses. He was stunned. The space in the storage ring was filled with divine crystals. There was a mountain of low-grade and middle-grade divine crystals, as well as a portion of high-grade divine crystals. An ordinary person would not be able to count them, but with the elder's powerful spiritual sense, he was able to count them in a few breaths. The divine crystals added together were exactly the same as 100,000 high-grade divine crystals. Kid, you're amazing. You really can take out 100,000 high-grade divine crystals. The old man also sighed. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. If he had not killed the Night Demon Lord and obtained his storage ring, he would not have been able to take out so many divine crystals. One had to know that the Night Demon King owned the Demon Night Spring, which was why he had so many divine crystals. Even so, after paying such a large sum of divine crystals, Lu Ming did not have many divine crystals left. Since you've paid the divine crystals, these divine techniques are yours. I'll remove the restrictions on them for you, the old man said. Then he formed a seal with both hands. Runes flew into the secret manual one after another. The light on the secret manual flickered a few times before it stabilized. Alright, the restriction on it has been broken. Take it, the old man said. Many thanks, senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists and took the secret manual. He kept it in his storage ring and returned to his residence impatiently. Chiyue, after returning to his residence, Lu Ming walked into Chiu Yu's room. Young master, what's wrong? Chiu Yu ended her cultivation and blinked at Lu Ming. Chiyue, how's your cultivation going with the Saint-grade divine arts I gave you before? Lu Ming asked. They've all been successfully cultivated. They've already condensed divine fire. Chiu Yu said. So fast, Lu Ming was rather speechless. Fortunately, Chiu Yu cultivated the same divine technique as Lu Ming. Chiyue, I've bought some divine-grade divine skills and techniques. Take 2 of them and cultivate them. After you've cultivated them, merge the divine-grade divine power with similar attributes into the divine-grade divine power. Lu Ming took out a few divine-grade techniques and passed them to Chiu Yu. Divine-grade divine art. Chiu Yu's eyes lit up and she took the 2. After that, Lu Ming returned to his room and took out a divine technique, the divine tying technique, and started to flip through it. It was indeed difficult to cultivate a divine-grade mystical technique. However, Lu Ming already had a lot of experience. In addition, his comprehension had improved a lot on Star Peak. It was not too difficult to cultivate it. A few months later, Lu Ming had cultivated the first stage of the Tying Divine Technique and successfully cultivated a wisp of Tying Divine Energy. After that, Lu Ming switched to cultivating the Universe Thousand Tao Scripture and continued to strengthen this wisp of Tying Divine Energy until he cultivated a Divine Fire. Just like that, a year passed. When the divine energy was strong enough, another divine fire was ignited in Lu Ming's Dantian. This was the divine fire of Taiyin. This was also because the cultivation environment in the Star Sky Camp was too good. If it were anywhere else, it wouldn't be as fast. Now, I can merge the Ice Divine Power and the Extreme Cold Divine Power into the Moon Divine Power. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He began to control the 2 divine flames and fused them with the divine moon fire. Their attributes were similar, and the level of the divine moonfire was higher, so it was relatively easy to merge them. After a few months, the ice divine power and the ultimate cold divine power had completely merged into the divine moonfire. The divine moonfire had grown a lot stronger, but it was still far from the divine fire condensed by the ruler's divine power and the inextinguishable sword force. It would take time for it to grow. In this way, there were only 9 divine flames left in Lu Ming's dantian. I wonder how Qiu Yu's cultivation is going. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming walked out of the room and happened to see Qiu Yu in the courtyard, cultivating a divine skill. Qiu Yu stopped cultivating when she noticed Lu Ming. Qiu Yue, how's your cultivation of the 2 divine-grade divine arts? Lu Ming asked with a smile. I finished cultivating a few months ago. Qiu Yu said, What? You finished cultivating? Has the divine flame fusion been completed? Lu Ming was shocked. Yeah, it's done. Qiu Yu said, Lu Ming had suffered a huge blow. He had been cultivating nonstop and had only managed to cultivate 1 of them. However, Qiu Yu had already cultivated 2 of them. This was really a blow to him. Qiu Yue, take these and cultivate. Lu Ming gave the remaining 3 divine techniques to Qiu Yu, and Qiu Yu returned the 2 that she had finished cultivating. The 2 of them chatted for a while before returning to their respective rooms to continue cultivating. Time passed quickly. It had been 10 years since Lu Ming came to the space camp. During this period of time, Lu Ming had successfully cultivated all the divine-grade divine skills and wondrous techniques. He had completely fused all the divine powers with similar attributes. Now, there were only 9 divine fires and 9 types of divine power left in Lu Ming's dantian. 7 of them were divine-grade divine power. They were the ruler divine power, inextinguishable sword power, sun divine power, moon divine power, sky profound divine power, annihilating wind divine power, and sky evil divine power. There was also a sacred grade divine power, the multi-eye divine power, and a king grade divine power, the golden dragon divine power. Of course, out of the 7 types of divine grade divine power, only the ruler's divine power and inextinguishable sword force were in a full state. They were at the 4th level celestial deity realm. The other 5 divine-grade divine powers were only at the level of a 1st level celestial deity. They were still far from full. Although the sacred and king-grade divine powers were full before the fusion, they were far from full once they were converted to divine-grade divine power. However, even so, Lu Ming's overall combat strength had improved. After all, they were all divine-grade divine powers. Each of them was extremely powerful. If all his divine energy was full, Lu Ming's combat strength would increase dramatically. By then, even if his cultivation did not improve, he would be able to crush a heaven's favorite like Leng Ying. And NBSP, however, it was also very difficult to cultivate 5 types of divine-grade divine power to a full state. For example, a person would need a long time to advance from the 1st level to the 4th level celestial deity. Moreover, Lu Ming was equivalent to 5 people. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2987 Star Moon Ancient City The Universe Thousand Dao Scripture had its pros and cons. He controlled many types of divine-grade divine power and was indeed very powerful. However, the resources and time he needed to cultivate were much more than others. It's a pity that the refining speed of the star core is too slow. If the energy of the star core were to pour in, I would be able to cultivate the 5 types of divine-grade divine power to a full state very quickly. Lu Ming muttered, "Hey kid, are you blaming this old lady for refining too slowly?" Lu Ming's words were heard by the measure formula and it immediately cried out. "I don't." Lu Ming quickly denied it. "Brat, it's all because your cultivation base is too weak." "Too weak, do you understand?" "He's simply weak to the point of dregs." "Heavenly God realm, hee." The quantity formula sneered. Its resentment was shockingly great. Lu Ming's face was covered in cold sweat. The quantity formula mumbled again, all of them criticizing Lu Ming. After a long while, he stopped. "Kid, let me tell you. It's not impossible to quickly refine the energy in the core of a star. After he finished criticizing, the tone of the measure characters suddenly changed. What is it? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Without the help of the energy from the star core, Lu Ming would need at least tens of thousands of years to cultivate all 5 types of divine powers to the maximum, even if he was on the star peak. After tens of thousands of years, even daylilies would have turned cold. It's very simple. The core of a star is extremely young and strong. If you can find an object of extreme yin and extreme cold for me to absorb and fuse with yin and yang, I can quickly refine the core of a star into energy. The quantity formula said. Extreme yin and extreme cold? Then, does the cold moonstone count? Lu Ming said. No, the cold moonstone's grade is too low. The ball of cold liquid in your 9th ice chain can do it. The quantity formula said. That liquid? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. However, he had already refined it and turned it into a divine power. It would definitely not work. Then Lu Ming thought of the treasure of the Ice Soul clan, the Ice Jade Heart. However, the Ice Jade Cold Heart was the clan treasure of the Ice Soul clan. It was impossible for him to refine and absorb it. Let's go take a look at the Star Sky Camp Market. Lu Ming muttered and left the room, heading to the market of the Star Sky Camp. Unfortunately, even though some cold attribute treasures were discovered in the market of the Universal Camp, they did not meet the requirements. One had to know that it was the core of a star. It was very difficult to find an item of extreme cold that matched it. For the next few days, Lu Ming went in and out of the city square. Unfortunately, he did not gain anything. Lu Ming could only rely on himself to cultivate slowly. Lu Ming cultivated the Heaven and Earth Thousand Dao scripture to accumulate divine power while he cultivated various divine skills. He discovered that the complete version of the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique was even more profound than the incomplete version. This was especially so after the 7th level. It was simply a whole lot more profound. After cultivating it, it really had the power of the Kunpeng, which could spread its wings and fly 100,000 miles. Lu Ming, come out and fight me. On this day, Lu Ming was cultivating when he suddenly heard a loud roar from outside. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He extended his spiritual senses and found a young man standing in midair with a sharp gaze. Lu Ming had never seen this young man before. It seems like the Jin and Qin families can't hold back anymore. Lu Ming pondered and then said, I want fight until 50 years have passed. Lu Ming rejected her very directly. Lu Ming, what kind of prodigy are you? You only know how to hide and don't even dare to accept the challenge. I think you should just get out of the Universal Camp. The young man shouted coldly, his voice filled with disdain. Oh really? Fine, suppress your cultivation to the same level as mine and I'll fight you. Lu Ming's voice was heard. The young man snorted coldly and did not reply. Why aren't you talking? You don't even dare to accept a battle at the same level. What kind of heaven's favorite are you? You only know how to hide like a turtle. I think you should get out of the Universal Camp. Lu Ming's disdainful voice was heard. You, the young man was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Lu Ming had returned his words to him word for word. In the end, the young man could only leave in dejection. However, in less than a month, another young man came to challenge Lu Ming. He was provoking and slandering Lu Ming in various ways. However, Lu Ming always said nonchalantly, Do you dare to fight me at the same level? After that, those people left dejectedly. Are these people really sent by the Jin and Qin families? Lu Ming had some doubts after being continuously challenged. If it was the Jin family or the Qin family, 1 or 2 challenges would be enough. But it had already been 4 or 5 times. Lu Ming could not help but recall the assassination attempt he had encountered on his way to the Star Sky Camp. Then who sent them? Also, wasn't there the 9 absolute heavenly king mansions backing behind Magic City Mountain? How could it be destroyed by the Star Sky Camp as a test for the new recruits? Could it be that the person who gave the test to the newcomers was the backer of Magic City Mountain? The other party wanted to destroy Magic City Mountain and destroy the evidence? This was still very possible. If that was the case, the Night Demon King would definitely have evidence. That was why Lu Ming was assassinated on his way to the star camp. And among the people who challenged him, it was possible that they were sent by the other party to kill him and take away the evidence in his hands? The more Lu Ming thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. However, it was impossible to check from the person who gave the test instructions to the newcomers. Lu Ming had already asked Wu Ming and Wu Yu about this. The person who gave the test was a normal elder of the universal camp. Obviously, the other party couldn't have given such an order personally. It would probably be difficult to find out through special means. Lu Ming's hand moved and the Night Demon King's storage ring appeared in his hand. If there was any evidence, it must be in the storage ring. However, Lu Ming did not find anything after flipping through it a few times. Watch it again. Lu Ming continued to flip through the pages. In the end, he still did not find anything. Clang, clang, clang. At this moment, the sound of a bell came from the star peak. What happened? Lu Ming was curious and walked out of the room with Qiuyu. Star Moon Ancient City will open in 10 days. Those who wish to try their luck, please gather at the square at the foot of the mountain in 10 days. A voice came from the top of the star peak and spread throughout the entire Star Sky Camp area. Everyone could hear it. Star Moon Ancient City is about to open again. This time, I must go in. I must awaken the origin divine power factor. This is my chance. Instantly, the entire universal camp was in an uproar. Many of the senior members were excited. Star Moon Ancient City? What was that? Is it a historical site? Lu Ming and Qiuyu were puzzled. Let's go ask Wu Ming and Wu Yu. Qiuyu said, all right. Lu Ming nodded. Then, he rose into the air with Qiuyu and flew toward the foot of the mountain. Soon, the two of them arrived at the foot of the mountain, and a pungent smell wafted over. At this moment, the members of the Universal Camp at the foot of the mountain had also left the wooden house and were discussing the matter of Star Moon Ancient City. When they saw Lu Ming and Qiuyu, each and every one of them had envious looks on their faces. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2988 Wormhole. One day, I'll also kill my way up there and fly in the open. Me too. Many people clenched their fists tightly and looked at Lu Ming enviously. Living on Star Peak without any stench and being able to fly freely had become the goal of these people. Lu Ming ignored these people. Very soon they found Wu Ming and Wu Yu. Brother Lu, Lady Qiuyu, why are you here? Wu Ming and Wu Yu smiled. After not seeing each other for over a decade, Wu Ming and Wu Yu's cultivation had become much more exquisite. They were not far from 9th level celestial deity either. Brother Wu, I'd like to ask you something. What's the matter with Star Moon Ancient City? Lu Ming smiled. So it's because of Star Moon Ancient City. We don't know much about the details. We only know that Star Moon Ancient City is an ancient ruin. Legend has it that it was left behind from the beginning of the Heavenly Palace era. It contains all kinds of opportunities. It's said that every time someone goes there, they will gain something. There are even people who have successfully awakened the origin divine power factor inside. Wu Ming explained. As he said this, his eyes revealed a fiery radiance. The ruins left behind during the early days of the Heavenly Palace era. Lu Ming was also secretly shocked. Now, it was the later stage of the Heavenly Palace era, which was many years away from the beginning. I heard that there are all kinds of forbidden grounds inside that contain treasures, Wu Yu added. Oh, did anyone find a treasure of the cold attribute inside? Lu Ming asked. I heard that there's a forbidden area inside that has supreme cold treasures, Wu Yu said. Lu Ming's eyes lit up slightly. If he could obtain a cold attribute treasure in Star Moon Ancient City, it would greatly increase his cultivation speed. He had to go to Star Moon Ancient City. It was too slow to cultivate step by step. He could only improve faster by taking risks and experiencing. After chatting with Wu Ming and Wu Yu, Lu Ming and Qiuyu returned to their residence. 10 days passed by in a flash. 10 days later, the square at the foot of the mountain was packed with people. Most of the elites from the Universal Camp were here. Of course, there was a limit to entering Star Moon Ancient City. Those above the Divine King realm couldn't enter. Only the half-step Divine King realm could enter. Lu Ming. Wu Ming and Wu Yu walked toward Lu Ming and Xiu Yu. There were a few young men and women following behind them. All of them had extraordinary auras. Wu Ming introduced the few young men and women. They were all the Wu clan's prodigies. They cultivated on Star Peak, and their cultivation bases were below the God King stage. The few of them greeted each other and could be considered to have gotten to know each other. They're here. Suddenly, someone spoke and looked in the direction of Star Peak. A beam of light flew over from the top of the Star Peak. It was a white-haired old man who stood in the air above the square. A vast and unfathomable aura emanated from his body, making it difficult to guess what his cultivation was. "My name is Bai Li. You can call me Elder Bai," the white-haired elder said. "Greetings, Elder Bai." Many people saluted. The experts in charge of the Universal Camp were all sent by the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. They were the direct descendants of the 9 Absolute Heavenly King and did not belong to any aristocratic family. You all want to enter Star Moon Ancient City, right? First of all, I want to remind you that it's very dangerous to go to Star Moon Ancient City. You can lose your life at any time. You'd better think about it carefully. Bai Li warned seriously. However, no one made a sound. Of course, there would be danger in taking risks and searching for opportunities. If he didn't dare to go just because there was danger, then what was the point of cultivating? He would definitely be pulled further and further away from the other heaven's favorites. Bai Li was expressionless as he continued. Also, the most important thing is that it's not only the heaven's favorites from the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion who will enter Star Moon Ancient City. There are also other heaven's favorites from other Heavenly King Mansions. A total of 4 Heavenly King Mansions have the path to Star Moon Ancient City. They will also enter. Hearing this, many of the new members were shocked. On the other hand, the older members were not surprised, as they had already known about it. The other members of the Heavenly King Manor will also enter. Many people murmured as their gazes turned serious. The Great Void Holy Dynasty was divided into territories. There were a total of 27 Heavenly Kings who guarded the territories. Each Heavenly King Mansion was like a country within a country, managing a large area of territory. However, these Heavenly Kings' residences did not live in harmony. Instead, they competed with each other and even attacked each other, just like 2 different countries. Some of the Heavenly King manors even had irreconcilable enmity between them, and they would kill each other as soon as they met. Therefore, if the other heaven's favorites from the Heavenly King Palace entered Star Moon Ancient City, the danger would increase greatly. Alright, that's all I have to say. Is there anyone else who wants to withdraw? It's not too late to withdraw now, Bai Li said. No one backed out. Alright, since no one is backing out, then follow me. It'll allow you to fly, Bai Li said before flying out of the Universal Camp. Everyone rose into the air and followed Bai Li. After flying for half an hour, they came to a hidden place. The space here was very strange. It seemed to be shrinking in one direction, and there was a dark hole in that direction. Could it be a wormhole? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Lu Ming had read about wormholes in some ancient books. Wormholes mostly appeared naturally after the universe was born. Wormholes were extremely mysterious. Different wormholes in the universe would connect with each other. After entering a wormhole, one could appear in another place in the universe. Perhaps, in an instant, he would be transported from one star region to another. Wormholes and teleportation arrays were different. The teleportation formation was man-made. The teleportation was actually across the void, just like a void channel, which also required time. For example, teleportation across star fields would take a lot of time. However, wormholes weren't needed. In an instant, they could enter other star fields or even further. Could it be that he had to pass through this wormhole to enter Star Moon Ancient City? Let's go! Bai Li was the first to fly forward and into the wormhole. In a flash, his figure disappeared. Then, the old members followed and flew into the wormhole. Let's go too! one of the Wu family's youths said as he flew forward. Lu Ming, Xiao Yu, and the rest also entered the wormhole. As soon as he entered the wormhole, Lu Ming was enveloped by a strange energy. He seemed to see a passage in the void that led to the front. Then, in a flash, he disappeared completely. In the next moment, his body felt lighter, and the force disappeared. Lu Ming realized that he was standing on a piece of land. Looking back, there was another wormhole behind them. This wormhole was connected to the wormhole in the Star Sky Camp. If they wanted to go back, they could directly enter this wormhole and return to the Star Sky Camp. Following that, Lu Ming sized up his surroundings. They were standing on a flat piece of land. In front of them was a majestic ancient city that stood between the sky and the earth. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. The four gates of heaven, earth, man, and dog. There was an ancient city that was extremely huge. It was like a primeval beast that lay on the ground. The city walls were so high that they pierced through the clouds. Looking from afar, it was impossible to tell how big this giant city was because the edge of the city walls could not be seen. It was as if they could only see one side of the city wall, but not the ends of the wall. Star Moon Ancient City. Everyone's heart moved. Let's go! Bai Li flew forward, and the others followed closely behind. As they got closer and closer to the city wall, they realized how huge it was. The wall was ancient and filled with the aura of time. It was as if it had crossed time and space from the beginning of the universe. Soon, they arrived at the foot of the city wall and found a city gate. No, to be precise, there were 4 doors. Behind the 4 doors, there was a common passage that led into the city. The 4 doors were all different. The door on the far left was the tallest and the most resplendent. It had a noble aura. The second door from the left was silver white and crystal clear. Although it was not as good as the first door, it was still pretty good. The third door was an ordinary-looking stone door. As for the 4th door, it could no longer be called a door. It was a hole that could only fit one person. You've all seen these 4 gates, right? If you want to enter Star Moon Ancient City, you must enter through these 4 gates. Bai Li pointed at the 4 doors. Can't we just fly in from the top of the city wall? A new member asked. Hee, if you're not afraid of death, you can try. An old member sneered. The new member's expression changed immediately. There's a powerful restriction on the city wall. Even if someone above the Divine King realm goes up, they'll die. Bai Li said indifferently, and everyone drew in a cold breath. Those above the God King realm would also die if they went up. That restriction was too terrifying. Then, everyone's eyes turned to the 4 doors. Did these 4 doors have a reason? As expected, Bai Li continued his introduction. These 4 doors also have restrictions. Anyone above the God King level can't enter. Only those below the God King level can. These 4 gates, from left to right, are the Heaven Gate, Earth Gate, Human Gate, and Dog Gate. Bai Li paused for a moment. Heaven Sect, Earth Sect, Human Sect, Dog Sect? Everyone's eyes moved. As the name suggested, out of the 4 gates, the Heaven Gate was the most respected and the Dog Gate was the worst. Most of the people's gazes fell on the Heaven Gate. If he wanted to leave, he naturally had to go through the Heavenly Gate. However, no one noticed that many of the senior members had complicated expressions on their faces. Some of them even quietly stepped back, indicating that they would go first. Bai Li also smiled and said, as the name suggests, the Heaven Gate is the most honorable, followed by the Earth Gate. But let me tell you, there is a terrifying restriction on the gate that can test one's talent. The more talented one is, the more they can pass through the honorable gate. If one is not talented enough and wants to pass through by force, they will be killed. Do you understand? You have to act within your means. A fatal disaster. Many of the new members revealed expressions of shock and doubt. They looked at the senior members, but most of them stepped back slightly, as if they were asking him to go first. It seems that this door is not easy to pass through. Lu Ming muttered. If it was easy to leave, the old members would have already left. With my talent, I'll definitely pass through the heaven gate. At this time, a young man in black stepped out and walked directly toward the sky gate. His face was full of confidence. It was obvious that this person was very confident in his own talent. Bai Li's eyes flickered, but he did not stop him. Everyone's eyes fell on the black-clothed youth. The difference was that the new members were all curious, while the old members looked like they were watching a good show. Bang, bang. And NBSP, although the black-clothed youth was confident, he didn't dare to be careless. He circulated his divine power, and his entire body was covered in divine power. 9th level celestial deity. Many people could tell that the black-clothed youth's cultivation had reached the 9th level celestial deity realm. Every step he took was very cautious and he was always on guard. Finally, he stepped into the gate of heaven. However, there was nothing unusual. There was no reaction from the heaven's gate. The young man in black took a few more steps, and nothing unusual happened. The confidence on his face grew even stronger. It seems that my talent is enough. The young man in black smiled and continued to walk. However, when he was halfway to the door, he suddenly stopped and stood there motionless. What's going on? Why is he not moving? Many people were puzzled. The test has begun, Bai Li said. As soon as Bai Li's voice fell, he saw the black-clothed young man's body tremble violently. Then, he let out a shrill scream and his body flew out of the heaven's gate. He fell heavily on the ground and remained motionless. There was no trace of life in his body. He was dead. The young man in black was dead. The crowd found a bloody mark between the eyebrows of the young man in black. This was a fatal wound. His soul had been destroyed. Many people gasped. They did not see how the young man in black had died. What had happened in the heaven's gate? Let me tell you, the 4 doors have nothing to do with one's cultivation level, only one's talent. If one's talent is not high enough, they will either die or be injured. You have to think carefully about which door to go through. Oh, I forgot to tell you. There won't be any obstructions to the last door. As long as one's cultivation level is below the God King realm, they can climb in, Bai Li said. It's impossible to climb in through the dog gate. With my talent, even if I can't go through the heaven gate, I can go through the earth gate. I'll go through the earth gate. Many people were discussing. Then, a young man stepped out of the earth gate. The earth gate was different from the heaven gate. As soon as this young man stepped into the earth gate began to glow, and then rays of light shot towards this man. The man roared and used all his strength to block. However, he only managed to block a few moves before the light pierced through all his defenses and pierced through his body. He was torn to pieces and died on the spot. Another heaven's favorite had died. All the new members had ugly expressions. One had to know that the talent of the heaven's favorite just now was definitely not weak. How could the talent of someone who could control divine-grade divine power be weak? However, if he couldn't even pass the earth's gate, he would be dead. Even the earth's gate is so difficult? Damn it, did you all pass through the human gate before? A new member looked at the old members. He passed through the human gate? Some of the older members laughed. No way? Many people's hearts turned cold. Did he pass through the dog gate? A heaven's favorite who could control divine-grade divine power passed through the dog gate? I don't believe that I can't even pass through the human gate. With a furious roar, another young man stepped out. This time, he chose the human gate. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2991 Can only climb through the dog gate? A young man stepped out, his body exuding a powerful aura. His body was shrouded in divine power. Bang! Step by step, he carefully entered the human gate. Buzz! The moment he stepped into the human gate trembled slightly and emitted a dazzling light. Then, a divine light flew towards this person. Block it! The man roared, and divine power exploded out. He pushed out with both hands, and a ferocious beast pounced forward. Boom! The divine light struck the beast, causing a violent boom. The beast trembled violently. Block it, the young man roared and used all his strength. However, the next moment, the beast exploded. The young man groaned and retreated. A wound appeared on his chest, and it went straight through his bones. Again! The young man roared, his eyes filled with an unyielding look. He had to succeed. He had to enter through the human gate. Otherwise, if he wanted to enter Star Moon Ancient City and obtain the fortune, he had to enter through the dog gate. This was something that he found hard to accept. Bang! He had once again stepped into the human world. However, the human gate wouldn't show any mercy. It continued to glow, and a divine light blasted towards him. This time, the young man's situation was even worse. His body was almost split apart, and he was forced out of the gate and heavily fell to the ground. His aura was weak, but he managed to keep his life. A young man who was familiar with him gave him a divine pill to heal his injuries. I'm telling you, if you can't do it, don't force yourself. Be careful not to lose your lives here. Bailey said coldly. Many people's faces turned ugly. Did they really have to enter through the dog gate? They'll try. Then, another new member stepped through the human gate. However, this person was sent flying out of the human gate like the previous one, but his injuries were lighter. Those without talent better not come forward. Obediently leave through the dog gate, in case you get injured. An old member said with a smile. That's right. I wonder how many of the new members will pass through the dog gate. Another senior member laughed in disdain. I'll do it. At this time, a cold voice was heard, and a young man in a blood-red robe stepped out. Lu Ming recognized the man. He was Wu Shui's senior brother. It's him! Many of the new members' eyes lit up. The blood-robed young man was definitely the best among this batch of new members. If he could not enter through the human gate, then most of the new members would probably enter through the dog gate. The blood-robed young man's face was cold, and his body was covered in blood-red divine power. Step by step, he stepped into the human gate. Just like before, when the blood-robed young man stepped through the human gate lit up. A divine light shot towards the blood-robed young man. Blood pool abyss. The blood-robed young man roared and pushed his hands out. In front of him, a deep abyss appeared. In the abyss, there was a blood-red mist rolling, giving off a terrifying aura. The abyss spread forward and enveloped the divine light from the human gate. Boom, boom, boom. Within the abyss, there were loud rumbles and constant quakes, as if it was going to explode at any moment. And NBSD stop. The blood-robed youth shouted, his divine power constantly circulating. The veins on his face bulged as he tried to stabilize the blood pool. Slowly, the quaking in the abyss slowed down and finally disappeared. The blood-robed young man let out a long breath and looked overjoyed. He took a deep breath and continued to step forward. After that, the human gate was very stable. There was nothing unusual. The blood-robed young man passed through the human gate smoothly and came to the common passage behind the 4 doors. It passed. Many of the new members were overjoyed. Finally, someone passed. As long as they passed, it meant that it was not an impossible task. The power will be different as the cultivation level changes. Lu Ming pondered. Through his observation just now, Lu Ming discovered that the cultivation levels of the previous batches of people who entered the human gate were different. However, the power that erupted from the human gate would also be different. The higher one's cultivation, the stronger the power. No wonder Bailey said that the test of the 4 doors had nothing to do with cultivation, but with talent. This gate could test one's talent. After the blood-robed young man passed through the passageway, he did not immediately enter Star Moon Ancient City. Instead, he stood there and watched. He wanted to see who would be able to pass through the Earth Gate and if anyone would be able to pass through the Sky Gate. Following that, more and more people stepped forward. However, they were all new members. The old members had no intention of making a move and were just watching from the side. Most of the new members had chosen the human sect. Some people failed while others succeeded. Lu Ming realized that less than half of the people could pass through the human gate. Most of them had failed. Those who had failed walked to the side dejectedly, not planning to pass through the dog door immediately. Even if he wanted to pass through the dog gate, he had to wait until the end. With so many people watching, how embarrassing would that be? Bang. Right at this moment, a figure stepped out, attracting everyone's attention. This was because this person was not stepping toward the human gate, but the earth gate. Jin Xing. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The person who stepped into the earth's gate was Jin Xing. It's him, Jin Xing of the Jin family. The others also recognized Jin Xing. It said that Jin Xing is one of the 4 most outstanding members of the Jin family's younger generation. Although he's young, his talent is extremely terrifying. That's right. The Jin family is amazing. There are many geniuses, especially in this generation. There are 4 terrifying heaven's favorites. Each one is more monstrous than the last. I wonder if Jin Xing will be able to pass through the earth gate. Many people were discussing this. The Jin family was one of the top families in the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion. They were very powerful. Everyone's eyes fell on Jin Xing. Jin Xing's entire body was covered in golden light, making him look like a man of gold. 7th level celestial deity. Back then, in the Qin heaven starfield, Jin Xing's cultivation level was at the 6th level heavenly deity. Now, he had reached the 7th level heavenly deity. Thump. Finally, he stepped into the earth gate. The earth gate trembled slightly. Then, a bright light filled the air. A few beams of divine light shot towards Jin Xing. There was only 1 divine light in the human gate, while there were 3 in the earth gate, and the light seemed to be more resplendent. Void severing hand. Jin Xing roared. Both of his palms turned golden and he struck out continuously. A terrifying whistling sound erupted in the air. The power of the void-breaking hand was extremely shocking. It collided with the 3 beams of light from the earth's gate. Thump, thump, thump. With 3 terrifying explosions, the void exploded, and the force spread in all directions. Jin Xing's entire body was golden, and it was extremely dazzling. Did you block it? Many people's hearts were in their throats as they watched with wide eyes. The next moment, the light dimmed. Everyone saw Jin Xing standing upright on the earth gate, uninjured. I blocked it. Someone exclaimed. He can pass through the earth gate. This time, even many of the older members were surprised. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2991 Gold Ingot. As one of the 4 heroes of the Jin clan, he is indeed extraordinary. Many people sighed. This time, there's another one of the 4 heroes of Jin family. I heard that he has already reached the half-step divine king realm. I wonder which door he will pass through. It's Gold Ingot. Gold Ingot has already been to Star Moon Ancient City once. Last time, he entered through the Earth Gate. This time, he's most likely going to charge at the Heaven Gate. I'm looking forward to it. Many people were discussing and looking at the other golden-robed young man. The young man was tall and sturdy. He was Jin Yuan, one of the 4 heroes of the Jin clan. The 4 heroes of the Jin clan were not ranked according to their cultivation, but by their talent. In terms of cultivation, there were many people in the younger generation of the Jin family who were above Jin Xing. Jin Yuan placed his hands behind his back. He obviously didn't plan to attack now. Bang, bang. After Jin Xing blocked a wave of attacks from the Earth's gate, there were no more abnormalities on the Earth's gate. He continued to move forward and stepped into the passage behind the gate. However, he did not enter Star Moon Ancient City through the passageway. Instead, he stood there and watched. In fact, among the people who had passed through the gate, almost none of them had entered Star Moon Ancient City. They were all standing in the passageway to watch. This time, they would be able to stay in Star Moon Ancient City for 10 years. They had plenty of time, so they were not in a hurry. You old members are still not moving? Let me see if your potential has improved after so many years. At this time, Bai Li spoke and looked at the old members. Talent was not always the same. Generally speaking, one's talent was determined by the heavens, but in fact, it was not necessarily so. In the world, there were some rare treasures that could increase one's potential and accumulate more potential. Some treasures could even increase one's comprehension. Lu Ming's comprehension had improved when he participated in the War of Transportation in the Divine Wilderness continent. The most important thing was Shun power. The talents of those who controlled divine-grade divine power could also be improved as their degree of awakening of divine power increased. Just think about it, those primitive gods that were born at the beginning of the universe had such terrifying talents. Within the divine-grade divine power, there were traces of primitive gods. When divine power was awakened, the cultivator's innate talent would also increase greatly. So, just because he couldn't last time didn't mean he couldn't now. He couldn't pass through the human gate last time, but that didn't mean he couldn't do it now. Bailey wanted to see how much progress those old members had made. "I'll do it." As soon as Bailey finished speaking, an old member stepped out. This person released his aura and was a 9th-level celestial deity. He walked towards the human gate with a solemn expression. The last time he came here, he didn't pass through the human gate. He had to climb through the dog gate in humiliation. This time, he must pass through the human gate. Bang! He stepped into the human gate, and instantly, the human gate lit up, and a divine light slashed at him. He let out an angry roar and tried his best to block the divine light. In the end, he was severely injured and coughed up a large amount of blood. However, he managed to block it and the divine light was destroyed by him. "Haha, I passed. The young man laughed wildly and stepped into the passage, his face full of excitement. He had not passed the last time. This time, he had cultivated hard. The degree of Shin power awakening had increased and he had finally passed through the human gate. The eyes of many old members lit up as they saw hope. "I'll do it." Immediately, another old member walked towards the human gate. This senior member had also failed to pass through the human gate last time. He had entered through the dog gate. When he saw the young man in front of him pass through the human gate, his confidence was greatly boosted. However, when he stepped through the human gate and was attacked, he let out a blood-curdling screech and was sent flying out. He was severely injured. He had failed. "Damn it!" This person roared angrily, extremely unwilling. He had passed through the dog's gate last time, and this time, he had to pass through the dog's gate again. His face was burning. After all, it wasn't that easy to improve one's talent. The young man who had been the first to go up had been very confident. As for the person behind him, although his cultivation had improved, his talent had not improved. Of course, he had failed. The remaining people's faces turned grave. Then more and more people came forward. However, compared to the new members, the old members had a much higher chance of success. More than half of them passed through the human gate. Of course, those who didn't pass through the human gate had extremely ugly expressions. Some of the older members had even started to attack the Earth's gate and many of them had succeeded. These successful people had all awakened their divine power to a high degree. They had reached 80% to 90% and were about to awaken the origin divine power factor. "Look, Gold Ingot is going to make a move." Suddenly, a voice rang out, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. As expected, Jin Yuan moved. Step by step, he walked toward the 4 doors. Which gate is he going to choose? Earth or heaven? Someone murmured, and everyone started to guess. He chose the heaven's gate. Someone exclaimed because Jin Yuan's figure was walking toward the heaven gate. Many people's eyes were filled with anticipation. This time, there was already a person who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth who had entered the heavenly gate. Other than being killed in the end, no one else had entered the heavenly gate. "Gold Ingot, can you succeed?" Last time, Jin Yuan had stepped through the earth gate. As he neared the heaven's gate, a bright golden light appeared on Jin Yuan's body. Layers of golden divine power enveloped him, and an ancient aura emanated from his body. Origin divine power factor. Bai Li exclaimed in a low voice, and his eyes suddenly lit up. "What? Origin divine power factor? Jin Yuan has awakened the origin divine power factor? So terrifying. He can awaken the origin divine power factor at the half-step divine king realm. No wonder he is one of the 4 heroes of the Jin family." Many people exclaimed. It was very, very difficult to awaken the origin divine power factor. Even geniuses had to enter the Divine King realm before they could awaken the origin divine power factor. On the other hand, the majority of people might not even be able to awaken the divine power factor even if they became God Kings. There were very, very few people below the God King level who could awaken the origin divine power factor. Every single one of them was a genius among geniuses. Jin Yuan was one of those people. The last time he came to Star Moon Ancient City, Jin Yuan had yet to awaken the origin divine power factor. This time, he has successfully awakened the origin divine power factor. His talent has increased greatly, and it is very likely that he will pass through the Heaven's Gate. Some people were discussing. Meanwhile, Jin Yuan had already stepped into the Heavenly Gate. The Heaven Gate, Earth Gate, and Human Gate were all different. The front section of the Heaven's Gate didn't have any abnormalities. When Jin Yuan was halfway there, he suddenly stopped and started to move. It began. Everyone knew that the Heaven's Gate's assessment had just begun. Everyone held their breath and watched quietly. They were guessing whether Gold Ingot could pass through the Heavenly Gate. Every time they came to Star Moon Ancient City, there were very few people who could pass through the Heaven Gate. Sometimes, not even one person could pass through. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Autumn moon crossing the Heaven Gate. Time passed by slowly. After 15 minutes, Jin Yuan's body finally trembled. Many people's hearts skipped a beat. Would Gold Ingot be able to pass? The next moment, everyone knew the answer. A powerful aura burst out of Jin Yuan's body. He stood straight and didn't retreat, but his face was a little pale. He stepped forward and continued to walk inside. He really passed through the Heaven Gate. That's amazing. Jin Yuan, who entered Star Moon Ancient City this time, is probably one of the strongest Heaven's favorites. Indeed, a half-step Divine King has awakened the origin divine power factor. He is almost invincible under the Divine King realm. Many people looked at Jin Yuan with deep fear. As half-step Divine Kings, those who had not awakened the origin divine power factor would probably not be able to take a single blow from Jin Yuan if they did not have terrifying secret techniques. In the end, Jin Yuan stepped into the passage and turned to look in their direction. He also wanted to see if there was anyone else who could pass through the Heavenly Gate. Gold Ingot, you've got some skills. Let me give it a try. At this moment, another young man stepped out. This young man was wearing an animal skin coat and had the appearance of a nouveau riche. However, no one dared to underestimate this person. This was because the aura that this person exuded was also extremely terrifying. It was filled with an ancient aura, which was quite similar to the aura that Jin Yuan exuded. Origin divine power factor. Many people were shocked. This person was also a peerless genius who had awakened the origin of divine power. This was because the origin divine power was the divine power controlled by the original gods. It was ancient, and once the origin divine power factor was awakened, it would naturally emit an ancient and desolate aura. This time, two people had actually awakened the origin divine power factor. This person was very direct and also stepped into the Heavenly Gate. He stopped halfway and woke up a moment later. He had successfully passed through the Heavenly Gate in the same time as Jin Xing. Their gazes collided and sparks flew. However, everyone's shock did not stop. That was because two more Heaven's favorites stepped out and walked towards the Heaven Gate. They passed. They had all awakened the origin divine power factor. This batch isn't bad. There are actually 4 people below the God King level who have awakened the origin divine power factor. Bailey smiled. Those who were able to awaken the origin divine power factor while still below the God King level had a limitless future. Brother Lu, well, go too. Wu Ming and Wu Yu said. Then, they went up with the other Wu family's supreme talents. As a result, Wu Ming and Wu Yu finally passed through the Human Gate despite their injuries. As for the Wu family, one of their elites had passed the Earth Gate. Chiyue, let's go too. Which door do you want to go through? Lu Ming asked Qiu Yu. Young master, I want to try the Heaven's Gate. Qiu Yu blinked her eyes and looked at the Heaven's Gate curiously. Then let's try. Lu Ming smiled. Although the Heaven's Gate was dangerous, he believed in Qiuyu. If Jin Yuan and the others could pass, he didn't believe that Qiuyu couldn't. Although Qiuyu had not awakened the origin divine power factor, she had awakened the nine-orifice Saint Heart. He was only at the first heaven, and his talent could not be compared to the nine-orifice Saint Heart. Young master, I'll go over and wait for you. Qiuyu smiled and floated out. What a beautiful woman. Many people's eyes lit up when they saw Qiuyu. However, in the next moment, everyone's eyes widened. Qiuyu was actually walking towards the heaven gate. You want to enter the heavenly gate? Someone exclaimed and stuttered. Even Wu Ming, Wu Yu, and the others were shocked. Lady Chuyue, you can't. This gate is extremely dangerous. Wu Ming could not help but call out. That's right, young lady. This is not a joke. It's life-threatening. We have to be careful. The others also chimed in. Qiuyu was so beautiful, it would be a pity if she died. Thank you, but I want to try. Qiuyu smiled and continued to walk into the heaven gate. An aura emanated from her body. Second-level celestial deity. Her cultivation is only at the second-level celestial deity realm. With such a low cultivation, it's impossible to awaken the origin divine power factor. What a pity, what a pity. Many people sighed. They thought that Qiuyu was most likely going to die. Soon, Qiuyu arrived at the center of the heaven gate and stopped. Everyone watched with rapt attention. Although many people thought that it was impossible for Qiuyu to pass, they still hoped that she would pass. After all, it was a pity for such a beautiful woman to die here. Time slowly passed by. About 5 minutes passed. Look, she's moving. How is it? That's not right. Someone exclaimed. At this moment, Qiuyu moved. However, she was not blasted out as expected. Instead, she stood there steadily. Did he pass? That's impossible, right? However, at the next moment, they had no choice but to accept this fact because Qiuyu turned around and smiled at Lu Ming. She said, "Young master, I'll head over first." With that, he floated forward and landed on the passage. He really passed? How was this possible? A second-level heavenly deity who had not awakened the origin divine power factor was actually able to pass through the heavenly gates. How terrifying was his talent? Many young men's eyes were burning with desire. With such talent and beauty, many people's hearts began to burn. If he could get such a beauty to be his wife, how cool would that be? Wait a minute. Following that, many people's gazes could not help but land on Lu Ming. Just now, Qiuyu had addressed Lu Ming as young master. Such a beautiful and talented person was actually someone else's maidservant. This brat, what capabilities does he have? You'll have to find a chance to warn this kid. Many people snorted coldly in their hearts and began to think of some ideas. Lu Ming naturally noticed these gazes, but he ignored them and said, I'll be right there. With that, Lu Ming stepped out. The door he was walking towards was naturally the Heaven's Gate. What? This kid also used the Heavenly Gate? It can't be. Does he think it's that easy to get to the Heaven's Gate? I don't believe that he can pass through the Heaven's Gate. Many people murmured and glared at Lu Ming. Many people could tell that his cultivation was at the 4th level of the celestial deity realm. It was already a miracle that Qiuyu could pass the test. They did not believe that Lu Ming could pass it too. Everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. This included Jin Xing, Jin Yuan, and some of the Qin clan's geniuses. I hope this kid dies in the Heaven's Gate. One of the Qin clan's elites sneered. If Lu Ming had died in the Sky Gate, they would not have to take action. Bai Li's gaze also fell on Lu Ming. He was extremely curious. He was already very surprised when Qiuyu passed the Sky Gate. Could Lu Ming pass it? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2994 Difficulty Lowered? There was a faint smile on Lu Ming's face as he walked into the Sky Gate unhurriedly. Soon, they arrived at the center of the Heaven Gate. As soon as he walked to the center of the Sky Gate, Lu Ming felt a force enveloping him. This force was irresistible and ancient. It enveloped Lu Ming's body, rendering him immobile. Following that, Lu Ming felt his vision turn black. The next moment, he appeared on a platform. "This is my spirit." Lu Ming was stunned. He knew that his physical body was definitely still outside. What had appeared here was his spiritual will. There would definitely be a test waiting for him next. As expected, a figure appeared in front of him. The figure's appearance could not be seen clearly, but it was like a human shadow. The shadow moved. There was a long sword in his hand. He thrust the sword at Lu Ming as fast as lightning. "Break the sky." With a single thought, a long spear condensed in Lu Ming's hand and he thrust it out. Boom. The long spear and the sword shadow collided. Lu Ming felt an extremely terrifying sword chi rushing towards him. The long spear in his hand collapsed instantly. He retreated rapidly and was almost pierced by the sword. What a powerful force! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Although he had attacked in a hurry and did not activate the battle formula, with the thick Shen power he had now, a casual spear attack could kill an enemy that was several levels higher. However, the result was that he was forced to retreat. One could only imagine how it would be possible for anyone else to pass. Ordinary geniuses would only be insta-killed. The shadow missed its first attack and continued to attack at an astonishing speed. Sword shadows shot toward Lu Ming one after another. Double the combat power. With a thought, he activated the double battle strength of the battle character formula. Instantly, his body was filled with energy. It's really possible. Just the spiritual will entering can trigger the battle formula. Lu Ming himself was also shocked. He had only wanted to give it a try, but he had not expected it to work. After triggering the doubling of combat strength, Lu Ming's combat strength soared and he swept the long spear horizontally. Bang, bang, bang. After activating the battle symbol art that doubled his combat strength, Lu Ming's combat strength was completely above his opponent's. As the spear ray crushed over, his opponent's sword shadows collapsed one after another. In the end, the long spear struck the shadow's body. The shadow's body directly exploded and turned into a fake. "There should be more," Lu Ming muttered. He didn't believe that he would pass through the heaven gate so easily. Indeed, the next moment, 3 shadows appeared in front of him and charged toward Lu Ming. However, even the 3 shadows were no match for the current Lu Ming. Moon-slaying sword. Lu Ming cast the second move of the 3 indestructible strikes. The crescent-shaped spear ray swept across and one of the shadows was destroyed. Soon, the 3 shadows were all killed. However, it wasn't over yet. After the 3 shadows disappeared, 9 more shadows appeared. The 9 shadows joined hands to set up a large array, and its power increased many times. Streaks of terrifying sword shadows slashed at Lu Ming with terrifying power. There was no doubt that if Lu Ming was hit by the sword shadow, his body would be severely injured. In the beginning, one person entered the heavenly gate and died. There was a bloody mark between his brows, and his soul was destroyed. Most likely he had suffered such an attack. This made Lu Ming feel some pressure. 4 times the battle power. Lu Ming could not be bothered to delay any further. He immediately activated the battle formula that increased his combat strength by 4 times. After erupting with 4 times his combat strength, Lu Ming naturally finished off his opponent in an overwhelming manner. As the long spear pressed down, the black shadow exploded continuously and finally disappeared. "Is it over? It can't be that fast," Lu Ming muttered. As expected, it was not that simple. In the next moment, 18 black shadows appeared, forming a large array and charging toward Lu Ming. "Do you want to try the ancient god body?" "Forget it. I'd better keep a low profile." Lu Ming thought about it and decided not to use the ancient god body. After using the ancient god body, he would definitely be crushed again. If this was the last round, Lu Ming's time was too short. It had only been slightly more than a minute since he had entered this place. Previously, Jin Yuan and the others had taken 15 minutes. Qiu Yu had also used 5 minutes. If he had taken care of it in a minute, it would have been too shocking. Therefore, he began to fight with the 18 shadows. Even a large array formed by 18 shadows was not a match for Lu Ming now. Therefore, Lu Ming was able to deal with it easily. Soon, 5 minutes had passed. Lu Ming's spear suddenly changed and its power increased. Boom! The spear radiance crushed down like a mountain and destroyed the opponent's formation. Then, he attacked continuously and killed all 18 shadows. I don't think so, Lu Ming muttered. If there were more, he didn't believe that Gold Ingot and the others could pass. Indeed, after the shadow disappeared, a force appeared. Lu Ming's vision turned black again. The next moment, when he opened his eyes, he realized that he was still standing in the middle of the Sky Gate. It's not that difficult. Lu Ming stretched lazily and smiled at Qiu Yu. He then stepped forward, passed through the Heaven's Gate, and walked to Qiu Yu's side. It's passed? Many people were dumbfounded and completely stunned. 1 autumn month had passed, and now, Lu Ming had passed again. A 2nd-level celestial deity and a 4th-level celestial deity, what was going on? Were their talents really that terrifying? The Qin family, Jin Xing, and the others all had gloomy expressions. This time, it's incredible. Bai Li's eyes glowed as he scanned Lu Ming and Qiu Yu from head to toe. He knew the difficulty of the Heaven's Gate better than anyone else. To be able to pass without awakening the origin divine power factor, one's talent must be unimaginably high. It was usually hard to come across such a genius, but now, 2 of them had appeared. Awesome! Wu Ming, Wu Yu, and a few other members of the Wu family were full of praise. I don't believe it. Did the difficulty of the Heaven's Gate drop this time? At this moment, someone shouted and a young man in a yellow robe stepped out. It's been reduced? Many people were stunned. That's right. I suspect that the difficulty of the heavenly gates has been lowered this time. Otherwise, how could so many people have passed? Even 2 2nd and 4th level heavenly deities who have not awakened the divine power gene have passed? I don't believe it. The yellow-robed youth said. But someone tried it before and was killed in an instant. Someone asked. That's because that person is too useless. The yellow-robed youth said. If you think that the difficulty has decreased, then you can give it a try. Jin Yuan snorted. If the yellow-robed young man said that the difficulty of the Heaven's Gate had been lowered, wasn't he doubting his talent? Of course, he was unhappy. That's just what I want. I was planning to give it a try. The yellow-robed young man said. Then he walked toward the Heaven's Gate. His aura bloomed, and a powerful pressure spread in all directions. This man was also a half-step divine king. I've only awakened 80% of my divine power. Jin Yuan snorted. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2994. Entering Star Moon Ancient City, the young man in the yellow robe released his divine power. Jin Yuan could tell the degree of the awakening of the young man's divine power. It was equivalent to an 80% awakening. Even the 2 of them can pass. I have awakened 80% of my divine power. That's enough, the yellow-robed young man said coldly. Then he stepped forward and stepped into the heavenly gate. However, when he stepped into the Sky Gate, his expression turned serious. Although he had said that the difficulty of the Sky Gate had been reduced, he didn't dare to relax in the slightest and was on full alert. When he was halfway to the Sky Gate, he stopped moving just like Lu Ming. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the yellow-robed young man. If the yellow-robed young man could pass through the Sky Gate, it meant that the difficulty of the Sky Gate had indeed been reduced. In the blink of an eye, 2 minutes had passed. Suddenly, the yellow-robed youth's body trembled. How is it? Everyone's heart trembled. Then, the yellow-robed young man let out a blood-curdling screech. His body flew out of the heavenly gate as if he had been hit by a giant beast. He crashed onto the ground and spat out a large mouthful of blood. His aura was extremely weak. Everyone saw that there was a crack between the yellow-robed young man's eyebrows, from which blood was flowing. The yellow-robed young man's eyes were filled with fear. He had almost died. It was obvious that the yellow-robed youth had failed. He had been defeated so badly that he had almost been left behind forever. The difficulty of the Heaven's Gate has not decreased at all. Someone muttered. Everyone's attention returned to Lu Ming and Qiu Yu. The difficulty of the Heaven's Gate was not reduced, but Lu Ming and Qiu Yu took 5 minutes each to pass it. From this, it could be seen that the two of them were terrifyingly talented. In particular, Jin Xing, Jin Yuan, and a few other paragons who had passed through the Heaven's Gate looked at Lu Ming with killing intent and solemnness. Everyone, I'll leave it to you to enter Star Moon Ancient City. Lu Ming must die in the Ancient City. At this moment, a few of the Qin clan's geniuses were secretly sending messages to the other geniuses. He was sending messages to a few geniuses of the aristocratic families that were on good terms with the Qin family. Don't worry. As long as we meet him in Star Moon Ancient City, we won't let him come out alive. The geniuses from the aristocratic families replied. What? At that moment, Lu Ming seemed to have sensed something. He suddenly turned to look in the direction of the Qin family's paragon. Just now, he had felt many killing intents land on him. It seems that other than the Jin family and the Qin family, there are still geniuses from other aristocratic families who want to kill me. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. If they wanted to kill him, they had to be prepared to be killed by him. Following that, more people chose to enter through the door. Qiu, let's go. Lu Ming looked at it for a while and lost interest. He held Qiu Yu's hand and walked toward the passage. Yes, let's go too. The experts have all made their moves. There's nothing to see now. It's boring to watch people climb through the dog gate. Let's go. As soon as Lu Ming and Qiu Yu left, the others could not sit still any longer. They moved one after another and walked into the passage. Inside the passageway was not Star Moon Ancient City, but a door of light. A teleportation gate. It seems like this is the gate that leads to the inner part of Star Moon Ancient City. Lu Ming smiled and stepped into the door of light with Qiu Yu. After that, the others stepped into the light door and disappeared. After most of the people had entered the door of light, the people outside also moved. Some of them bowed and crawled through the dog gate with red faces. Then, they ran with their heads down and entered the light gate. After more than half a day, everyone had entered the light door, leaving Bai Li alone outside. All the heaven's favorites from the 4 heavenly king manors are here. I hope they won't suffer too many losses this time. I also hope they will gain something. Bai Li muttered and sat down cross-legged outside. He was going to wait here for 10 years. As soon as Lu Ming stepped through the door of light, he felt as if he was traversing through the void. The next moment, Lu Ming found himself in a canyon. What? Lu Ming frowned because he realized that Qiu Yu was not by his side. Lu Ming rose into the air and looked around. In the end, he realized that he was in a primeval forest and Qiu Yu was nowhere to be seen. I've miscalculated. It turns out that the teleportation to Star Moon Ancient City is random. Lu Ming muttered and could not help but feel worried. Qiu Yu's cultivation was the weakest among the geniuses who entered Star Moon Ancient City this time around. She was only a 2nd-level heavenly god. If he ran into someone with ill intentions, he would probably be in danger. Qiu is also a person of great fortune. She should be fine. Lu Ming consoled himself. He took out the voice transmission jade talisman and realized that he could not transmit his voice. I'd better cultivate while I look for Qiu Yu. Lu Ming pondered and then looked around. In the end, he realized that he didn't know where he was at all. He was surrounded by the primeval forest. I didn't expect that there would be a primeval forest in Star Moon Ancient City. Lu Ming muttered. He then chose a random direction and flew forward. The primitive forest was dense with vegetation and dense divine qi, but there was not a single living being. There were no divine beasts or desolate beasts. It was deathly silent. After flying for a few hours, Lu Ming was still in the primeval forest. I'm so unlucky. I was teleported to the wilderness as soon as I came in. Lu Ming pursed his lips and cast the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique. He transformed into a Kuan Peng and flew across the 9 heavens. Just like that, Lu Ming flew for a day before he finally flew out of the primeval forest and saw the buildings. There were many palaces built on a mountain peak ahead. Only after flying in did he realize that these palaces were already very dilapidated and only ruins were left. However, It was left behind from the early days of the Heaven Palace era after all. Lu Ming was very curious and planned to go in and take a look. Boom. And NBSP at this moment, a boom erupted from the ruins. Divine power surged, and shattered stone flew everywhere. Then 2 figures flew out from the ruins and fought fiercely in the air. It was obvious that the 2 of them were the geniuses of the Universal Camp, and they were currently engaged in an intense battle. However, when they saw Lu Ming, they were shocked and retreated. It's him! When the 2 of them saw Lu Ming, they immediately recognized him. After all, Lu Ming had passed through the Heaven's Gate previously, and the prodigies of the Universal Camp had remembered him. It's this brat. Previously, the Qin family asked my Sun family to help them kill this person. It seems that my luck is not bad to have met this person the moment I arrived. Furthermore, this person's talent is so high. He might have a great opportunity on him. If I kill him, his opportunity will be mine. One of the big-nosed young men's eyes flickered with killing intent, but at the same time, there was also greed. Wang Tong, let's forget about today's matter. You can go. I won't argue with you. Thinking of this, the big-nosed young man looked at the person who had just fought with him and said, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2996 Statue. The big-nosed young man said, asking the person who had just fought with him to leave. The other party sneered, but he still chose to leave in the end. His strength was slightly weaker than the big-nosed young man. If he continued to fight, he would most likely not be his opponent as time went on. He sneered and swept a glance at Lu Ming. Then, he turned into a rainbow and left the place. As soon as the young man left, the big-nosed young man's figure flashed and he appeared beside Lu Ming. A wisp of chi activity locked onto Lu Ming. You want to kill me? Lu Ming said faintly with a faint smile on his face. You're not stupid either. The big-nosed young man's eyes turned cold. A powerful aura burst out and enveloped the area within a radius of 10,000 miles. The big-nosed young man had the cultivation of a 9th-tier celestial deity. Furthermore, his divine power had also awakened to a certain extent, but it was not even 50%. If I remember correctly, I didn't defend you. Tell me, who sent you to kill me? The Jin family or the Qin family? Lu Ming asked. Why are you asking so many questions when you're about to die? The big-nosed young man sneered. Oh, it's fine if you don't want to tell me. Other than the Jin family, there's only the Qin family. But speaking of which, your information isn't that well informed. Are you sure you can kill me? Lu Ming smiled faintly. This big-nosed young man most likely did not know that he had defeated Icehawk. Otherwise, he would not be so confident. What do you mean? The big-nosed young man was slightly stunned. I mean, he'll send you on your way now. Lu Ming's cold voice rang out. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Ming stepped forward. His body swelled up rapidly and he transformed into an ancient god body. At the same time, he activated the battle formula that multiplied his combat power by 4. A violent aura pressed toward the big-nosed young man. This aura... It's impossible. As soon as he sensed Lu Ming's aura, the big-nosed young man's expression changed drastically, and he was horrified. Lu Ming's aura made his heart tremble. Boom. Lu Ming launched an attack. A huge spear ray pressed toward the big-nosed young man. Vanguard Battle Dao. The big-nosed young man roared. A long spear appeared in his hand. He waved the long spear and suddenly, chariots appeared in the sky. There were even warriors on the chariots. The chariot rumbled toward Lu Ming. The big-nosed young man came from the Sun family, a great aristocratic family in the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion. This secret skill was unique to the Sun family, and its power was astonishing. However, when Lu Ming's spear ray pressed down, the chariots shattered one by one. In an instant, all the chariots were shattered. Boom! As the spear radiance pressed down, the big-nosed young man retreated and spat out a large mouthful of blood. How is that possible? How can he be so strong? The big-nosed young man roared in his heart. Indeed, he did not know that Lu Ming had defeated Lung Ying. Therefore, he thought that Lu Ming was merely a fourth-level celestial deity. No matter how talented he was, he would not be that strong. He had never expected that he would be severely injured in just one move. Run! The big-nosed young man immediately turned around and ran. It's too late to escape now. Lu Ming's cold voice was heard. He cast the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique and a Kunpeng was formed. With a flap of its wings, Lu Ming quickly chased after the big-nosed young man. Space breaking. Lu Ming waved his spear and thrust it forward. A ray of spear light shot toward the big-nosed young man at an alarming speed. Seeing that he could not escape, the big-nosed young man roared and brandished his spear to block. However, the result was that he was sent flying again, flying thousands of miles. His arm had exploded, and his injuries were even more serious. The big-nosed young man's combat strength was about the same as Leng Ying's. Back then, Lu Ming had to put in some effort when he was fighting Leng Ying. However, now that Lu Ming was circulating 7 types of divine-grade divine energy in his body, although most of the divine energy was not full, his strength had increased by a notch and he could already crush Leng Ying. Lu Ming, if you dare to kill me, the Sun family will not let you off. The big-nosed young man roared. Kill! Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on the other party. He launched a storm of attacks. The big-nosed young man barely managed to block a few more moves before he was smacked on the head by Lu Ming's spear and killed. With a wave of his hand, he kept the big-nosed young man's storage ring. In a flash, Lu Ming dashed toward the ruins on the mountain peak. This ruin had collapsed for many years. It was conceivable that in the long past, this mountain must have been covered with a big formation. Otherwise, it was impossible for the ruins to still exist after such a long time. It was likely that the sea had changed into mulberry fields, and nothing was left. Lu Ming looked around and was slightly disappointed as he did not find anything. Lu Ming did not stop. He rose into the air and left the place. Lu Ming did not have any gains for the next day. On this day, Lu Ming was flying when he suddenly felt something unusual in front of him. In front of him, he could feel a faint pressure. In Star Moon Ancient City, he couldn't let go of any abnormalities. Lu Ming's figure moved and flew forward. Not long after, Lu Ming had a discovery. In the wide area in front, there was actually a statue standing there. The statue was huge, at least 100 miles tall, standing in the clouds. However, the statue was headless and only had the lower half of its body. It stood on the ground, and the pressure was coming from it. Moreover, the closer he got to the statue, the greater the pressure became. It pressed down on Lu Ming's body, making it more difficult for him to circulate the divine energy in his body. It was as if he was carrying a 1,000-pound chain. Lu Ming saw a few other figures around the statue. Some people were approaching the statue, while others were standing still. Their bodies were trembling slightly, as if they were resisting the pressure of the statue. He's using the pressure from the statue to polish his foundation. Lu Ming could guess the intention of those people at once. His eyes lit up. Back then, on Magic City Mountain, in order to resist the great formation set up by the 3 great demon masters and more than 2,500 Magic City guards, he had forcibly absorbed the energy of the star core to break through to the next realm. Even though he had successfully broken into the 4th-level celestial deity realm, it also brought him hidden dangers. That was, his foundation was unstable. If his foundation was not stable, even if the divine power in his body was full, it would be difficult for him to break through to the next realm. He would have to spend a lot of time to polish his foundation. This statue was exuding a terrifying pressure. Lu Ming could make use of this pressure to polish his foundation. Lu Ming took a step forward and landed 1,000 miles away from the statue. Then he stepped forward and walked toward the statue. As Lu Ming got closer to the statue, the pressure he felt increased. It was as if he was carrying a divine mountain on his back. It was the same for his Shin power. It was getting harder and harder to circulate. Lu Ming was not shocked. Instead, he was elated. He needed this kind of pressure, the kind of pressure that would affect the divine power. However, the pressure is not enough. Lu Ming muttered and kept walking forward. Soon, he had surpassed the 2 young men. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Battling the Qin clan's geniuses, it's him. The two young men looked at Lu Ming. They had obviously recognized him. However, they only took a casual glance and went back to their cultivation. Not enough, continue. Lu Ming kept walking forward, getting closer to the statue. Very quickly, Lu Ming was 100 miles away from the statue. At this point, the pressure from the statue was shockingly strong. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly, and he felt that it was difficult to circulate the divine energy in his body. All right, this is the place. Lu Ming sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and began to circulate the Universe Thousand Tao scripture to polish his foundation. This cultivation took half a year. In the beginning, it was extremely difficult to circulate divine energy. He could only complete one cycle after a few days. Now, Lu Ming could already complete one cycle in an hour. Compared to before, the level of comfort had increased by tens of times. This kind of pressure is really a good place to polish one's foundation. At this moment, Lu Ming ended his cultivation. In just half a year's time, Lu Ming felt that his foundation had become extremely solid. If he was outside, it would be very difficult to achieve this without a few hundred years. You've saved me a lot of time, but I've spent half a year here. It's time to leave. Lu Ming pondered. I wonder how Star Moon Ancient City is doing in half a year. Lu Ming stood up and retreated, leaving the statue. And NBSP, when he was 1,000 li away from the statue, the divine power in his body rumbled and began to move at an astonishing speed. It's so pure and smooth, Lu Ming was overjoyed. After half a year of polishing, his foundation was even more solid than before. There were no obstacles in the circulation of divine power. It was smooth and natural, very rich. Now, as long as the other divine power in his body reached a state of being full, he could start to attempt to charge for 5th-level celestial deity. This half a year has been worth it. Lu Ming smiled and then rose into the air, planning to leave this place. However, at this moment, a few streams of light shot up from the ground not far away. They came from different directions and surrounded Lu Ming. Brat, you've finally finished and come out. One of them sneered. The Qin clan. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. These young men were all from the Qin clan. The people of the Qin clan all had a scale between their eyebrows, which was easy to recognize. It was obvious that the people from the Qin family had been waiting for Lu Ming to leave the area where the statue was. They were waiting for him to attack. That was because Lu Ming was under immense pressure at the statue. It was not convenient for them to take action. Kid, we have wasted a few months for you. We want you to know that there is only one consequence for killing the people of the Qin clan. A youth from the Qin clan exuded a powerful aura. Half-step divine king realm. Furthermore, this person's body faintly exuded a primitive and ancient aura. Although this person had not awakened the origin divine power factor, the degree of awakening was not low. His strength was definitely extremely shocking. For the time being, Lu Ming was not a match for such a prodigy. Moreover, the Qin clan had more than one heaven's favorite of this level. There were two. There were also 2 9th-level celestial deity prodigies. A total of 4 people surrounded Lu Ming. Qin Wuyo, you're just courting death. Lu Ming said coldly. At the same time, his eyes darted around, looking for a way to escape. He definitely couldn't force it. The other party's strength was above his, and it would be foolish to force it. Leaving was the best plan. Who do you think you are? You're just a piece of trash from the Qin Heaven Star system. If my Qin clan wants to kill you, well, kill you. You can only obediently wait to be killed. Do you understand? One of the Qin clan's young men shouted coldly with an arrogant look. Lu Ming only smiled faintly and could not be bothered to reply. What's there to say to this kind of person? Kill! Suddenly, Lu Ming let out a roar and threw out a series of punches. 7 9-clawed divine dragons flew out with a roar and pounced on a half-step divine king expert of the Qin family. You're overestimating yourself. Die! The young man from the Qin clan shouted coldly. His body shook and a violent divine power gushed out. Then he punched out, and a huge fist print rushed out, shaking the void. Lu Ming's 7 9-clawed divine dragons crumbled one after another. The man had a proud expression on his face. He was about to say something to show off when he saw Lu Ming's actions and roared, "Be careful!" It turned out that Lu Ming did not continue to attack him. Lu Ming's attack on him was just an illusion. After Lu Ming launched his attack, he retreated rapidly and rushed towards a 9th-level celestial deity youth from the Qin family. At the same time, his body expanded rapidly and he transformed into an ancient god body. Lu Ming's goal was to create a diversion and escape. Boom! Lu Ming shot out his spear at the 9th-level heavenly deity Qin clan's prodigy. 7 injury divine fist. The man reacted and threw a punch, sending a huge fist print at Lu Ming. However, a 9th-level celestial deity who had not awakened the origin divine power factor was not Lu Ming's match at all. The spear's gleam struck and the fist print shattered. The Qin clan's Heaven's Pride expert retreated and coughed out a large mouthful of blood. Lu Ming's figure rushed past him. He then cast the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique and charged forward. "Stay here!" Another half-step divine king from the Qin family attacked as well when he saw Lu Ming's attack. He threw a punch at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was about to fly forward, but he was too slow and the punch landed on his body. Bang! Lu Ming's entire body trembled. He staggered and almost fell. On his back, green scales flew in the air. The fist print had blasted a big hole in his back, and blood was dripping from it. "I'll remember this." Lu Ming bellowed and continued to fly despite the pain. Chase. The 4 Qin family elites chased after Lu Ming. In the blink of an eye, both parties disappeared from this place. One was chasing while the other was fleeing. In the blink of an eye, they had already flown a distance of several 100,000 miles. Those 2 9th-level heavenly deity Qin clan's geniuses were already unable to keep up with the speed and had fallen behind. However, the 2 half-step divine King Qin family's geniuses were slowly closing the distance between them and Lu Ming. Damn it! Lu Ming's face darkened. He had just taken a blow from a half-step divine King Qin clan's Heaven's Pride expert and was injured. He was not in his peak condition. Otherwise, he could have used the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique and escaped. But now, his speed was slightly slower than his opponent. "Brat, you can't escape." One of the Qin clan's young men shouted coldly, his killing intent cold. Lu Ming did not say a word and continued flying. Not long after, the distance between the 2 sides closed. 7 injury divine fist. One of the Qin clan's geniuses made his move and threw a punch. This heaven's favorite of the Qin family had probably awakened 60 or even 70% of his divine power. With his half-step divine king cultivation base, his attack was terrifyingly powerful. The space whistled and the terrifying fist force approached Lu Ming in an instant. Moon slaying. Lu Ming turned around and struck out with his long spear. A crescent-shaped spear ray burst out and rushed toward the other party's fist print. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. The Wu family's help Lu Ming slashed out a crescent-shaped spear ray, which hit the fist print of the Qin clan's paragon. Boom! A deafening boom erupted. The crescent-shaped spear radiance shook violently and then shattered. A powerful force rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body trembled and he retreated rapidly. The qi and blood in his body churned, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The divine power of a half-step divine king was already extremely dense. In addition to the 60 to 70% of the divine power that had been awakened, the power was too shocking. Lu Ming, who had gathered the power of 7 types of divine-grade divine power, could not withstand it. However, the youth from the Qin family was even more shocked. What's going on with this kid? A 4th-level celestial deity being so strong, simply monstrous. And his Shen power feels impure, but why is it so powerful? The Qin clan's young man had many thoughts in his mind. He was extremely puzzled. He could clearly feel that Lu Ming's divine power was mixed and impure. It seemed to be caused by an unstable foundation. However, its power was shockingly strong. A fourth-level heavenly deity who had not awakened the origin divine power factor yet was about to be able to contend with his divine power. He had also thought that Lu Ming's divine power was not mixed and impure. Instead, it contained 7 different types of divine power. After exchanging a move, Lu Ming turned around and continued to fly. "You can't escape." The 2 young men from the Qin clan continued to chase after him. At this moment, Lu Ming noticed a mountain peak in front of him. There were a few young men on the peak who seemed to be resting. That is, the Wu clan's prodigy. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The few youths on the mountain peak were clearly the Wu family's prodigies. Lu Ming saw Wu Ming and Wu Yu among them. At that moment, Wu Ming, Wu Yu, and the rest also saw Lu Ming. This ancient god body. It's brother Lu Ming. That's the Qin family. Damn it. Brothers, hick. Wu Ming and Wu Yu immediately recognized Lu Ming. They also noticed the Qin family's prodigy. They did not need to think to know what was going on. They immediately roared, "Leave it to us." On the mountain peak, 2 of the Wu family's heaven's favorites flew into the air and charged towards the Qin family's heaven's favorites like 2 shooting stars. 2 half-step divine kings joining hands to deal with a 4th-level heavenly deity. Your Qin family is really shameless. Let us be your opponents. A young man from the Wu family sneered. He slashed out with his sword from a distance. Buzz! A ray of sword light crossed thousands of miles and slashed at a Qin family youth. The sword light was bright and its power was overbearing. The youth from the Qin family had no choice but to stop and block. Boom! He punched out and blocked the sword light. His body also stopped. At the same time, the other genius of the Wu family also made his move and blocked the other young man from the Qin family. The 2 Qin clan's elites were both blocked. "This is a matter of my Qin clan. This man killed our Qin clan's genius. Is your Wu clan trying to meddle in our business?" A young man from the Qin clan said coldly. "So what if I'm a busybody? Lu Ming is a friend of the Wu family. If you want to kill him, it's the same as killing a member of the Wu family." One of the geniuses from the Wu family chuckled. In the 9 absolute heavenly king mansion, the Wu family's strength was not any weaker than the Qin family, so there was no need to fear the Qin family. "You guys." The 2 young men from the Qin clan had unsightly expressions. The 2 geniuses from the Wu family were no weaker than him. One of them had even stepped through the Earth Gate. His talent was shocking, and his combat strength was above theirs. They knew that with the Wu family's help, they would not be able to kill Lu Ming today. "Kid, you're lucky. I hope you can keep going this far. The next time we meet will be the day of your death." One of the Qin family's young men looked at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. "This sentence is exactly what I wanted to say to you. The next time we meet will be the day you die." Lu Ming responded indifferently. He would remember the enmity of being hunted down today. "Hee, just you?" A young man from the Qin family laughed disdainfully before turning around and leaving. Very quickly, the 2 youths from the Qin clan disappeared. "Brother Lu, are you all right?" Wu Yu and Wu Ming flew over. Lu Ming laughed like an ordinary person and said, "I'm fine. Thank you for saving me this time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to escape." If he had not encountered the Wu family's Heaven's Pride expert this time, he would have had to risk his life. The only way for him to go all out was to burn his ancient god heart. After burning his ancient god heart, he would definitely be able to kill the 2 Qin clan geniuses. However, the losses would be too great. It was not worth burning the ancient god heart for 2 Qin family members. "Brother Lu, you're too polite. Since we're friends, we can't just sit by and do nothing." One of the Wu family's elites laughed. The other 2 Heaven's Pride experts were Wu Zixiong and Wu Su. Both of them were at the half-step divine king realm. Among them, Wu Zixiong's talent was even stronger. He had already awakened 90% of his divine power and was not far from completely awakening the origin divine power factor. He had already passed through the Earth's gate before. Of course, it seemed like there was not much difference between 90% and completely awakening the origin divine power factor. However, it was shockingly difficult to achieve. 90% of the people would be stuck, and it would be difficult for them to achieve the final breakthrough. Lu Ming smiled and did not say much. There were no words to thank him for his great kindness. He just had to remember it in his heart. Wait, something was wrong. Lu Ming suddenly thought of a problem. Brothers Wu, how did you all get together? Did you all just happen to be teleported here together? Lu Ming asked. No, we were separated when we were teleported here. We only gathered together after communicating with each other through the Jade Talisman. Wu Zixiong said. Jade Voice Transmission Talisman? Could it be that the Jade Voice Transmission Talisman can be used here? Lu Ming said hurriedly. Of course it can be used. But, Brother Lu, what's the matter? Wu Ming asked. Lu Ming's face darkened and a look of worry flashed in his eyes. Not long after he entered, he sent a voice transmission to Qiuyu. However, the voice transmission Jade Talisman could not be used. He thought that the voice transmission Jade Talisman could not be used here. Immediately, Lu Ming took out his voice transmission Jade Talisman and sent a voice transmission to Qiuyu. However, the result was that he still could not send a voice transmission. What's going on? Lu Ming's heart sank and his expression turned uglier. Brother Lu, what's wrong? Wu Ming and the others also noticed that something was amiss and asked. Why can't my voice transmission Jade Talisman be transmitted out? Lu Ming told her about him sending a voice transmission to Qiuyu. It can't be spread? Brother Lu, pass it on to me. Wu Ming said. Lu Ming quickly sent a voice transmission to Wu Ming. However, it was unimpeded. Lu Ming's expression turned even uglier. Could it be that something had really happened to Qiuyu? Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. Brother Lu, you don't have to worry. In Star Moon Ancient City, voice transmission is indeed suppressed. If the distance is too far, it's normal that the voice can't be transmitted out. Furthermore, if Lady Qiuyu is in some isolated place, it's possible that she can't get out. Wu Zixiong consoled Lu Ming. Chapter 2998 Stunning Beauty. Wu Zixiong consoled Lu Ming, but Lu Ming's heart was still heavy and he was worried. I hope Qiuyu is blessed by the heavens. Lu Ming could only comfort himself in this way. Brothers Wu, if you meet Qiuyu in the future, can you help me look after her? Lu Ming said. Brother Lu, you're being too polite. I'll definitely find some friends to ask around for Lady Qiuyu's whereabouts. Wu Zixiong said. Thank you, Brother Wu. Lu Ming cupped his fists. By the way, Brother Lu, where are you going next? Wu Zixiong asked again. I've heard that there are some forbidden areas in Star Moon Ancient City. One of them is the land of extreme coldness, and there are extreme cold treasures there. I want to try my luck there. Lu Ming said. Go to the forbidden area? Wu Zixiong's expression slightly congealed, saying, Brother Lu, some of the forbidden areas in Star Moon Ancient City are very dangerous. If you want to go, you must be careful. Thank you, Brother Wu. I will be careful. Lu Ming said with a smile. Brother Lu, keep going north and you'll find the frigid forbidden land. I have a simple map here. You might need it. With that, Wu Zixiong took out a map and passed it to Lu Ming. A map? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He opened it and took a look. There were some circuits and some special places that were all marked. To the north from here, there was a forbidden area known as the Cold Nether Forbidden Area. It was filled with cold nether chi and was extremely dangerous. This map was drawn by the Wu clan's geniuses when they entered Star Moon City. It's relatively simple, but it can be used. Wu Zixiong said. You gave me the map, then you guys... Lu Ming hesitated. We naturally have a backup. Wu Zixiong laughed. Lu Ming patted his head. He was worried about Qiuyu and was a little distracted. He was really confused. Of course, the Wu family had a backup of such a map. Lu Ming, I'll take my leave then. See you another day. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Take care. Wu Ming and the others also cupped their fists. Then, Lu Ming turned and left, heading north. A few hours later, Lu Ming found a hidden place. He sat cross-legged and consumed a divine healing pill to start healing. Previously, he had taken a blow from the Qin clan's heaven's favorite and was heavily injured. After a few days, Lu Ming had recovered to his peak state. He then left the place and continued to head north. Star Moon Ancient City was like a world. It was huge and boundless. Lu Ming flew for a few days before he finally arrived at his destination, the Cold Nether Forbidden Grounds. The Cold Nether Forbidden Ground was filled with the qi of the Cold Nether, which was extremely and cold. It was said that someone had once obtained a treasure of extreme and extreme cold from the Cold Nether Forbidden Grounds. Lu Ming was looking for such a treasure to speed up the refinement of the star core and to fill up the 5 types of divine-grade divine energy in his body as soon as possible. Then he would break through to the next realm. Looking from afar, not even a blade of grass grew in the Cold Nether Forbidden Grounds, and there was a gray mist floating in the air. This gray mist was the qi of the Cold Nether. Buzz. At this moment, a stream of light flew over from not far away. The next moment, the light faded and a figure appeared in the sky. It was a woman. She was tall and had perfect curves. Her skin was as white as snow, and she had a peerless face. What a beautiful woman! Even though Lu Ming had seen all kinds of beautiful women, including Xian Yanqing and Qiuyu, he could not help but admire them. This woman's beauty was not inferior to Qiuyu, Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, and the others. At this moment, the Absolute Beauty also saw Lu Ming. "It's you? You are Lu Ming?" The Absolute Beauty spoke. Her voice was clear and pleasant to the ears, but it was filled with a faint coldness. "That's right, I'm Lu Ming." Lu Ming nodded. "Very good." The Absolute Beauty nodded, and a cold, killing intent suddenly emanated from her body. "Then go to hell." The Absolute Beauty shouted as she took a step forward and charged at Lu Ming. At the same time, a terrifying sword light burst out from her hand and slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming cursed. He did not expect that this beautiful woman would suddenly attack him. However, Lu Ming was already on his guard when he sensed the killing intent from the Absolute Beauty. As soon as she made her move, Lu Ming activated the battle character formula that increased his combat power by 4 times. Lu Ming waved his long spear and swept it out. Clang! The sword light slashed at Lu Ming's long spear, causing it to shake violently. Wisps of terrifying sword intent passed through the long spear and rushed toward Lu Ming. Sword slashes appeared on Lu Ming's arm, and blood was flowing out. As for Lu Ming himself, he retreated rapidly into the Cold Nether Forbidden Grounds. As soon as he entered the Cold Nether Forbidden Grounds and came into contact with the Cold Nether energy, a chill instantly spread through Lu Ming's body, causing him to shiver. With a single thought, 9 ice chains flew out and wrapped around Lu Ming's body, blocking the chill in the surroundings. This woman has such shocking strength. Lu Ming's gaze was fixed on the beautiful woman. This woman's cultivation was at least a half-step divine king. As for the extent of her awakened divine power, Lu Ming had no idea. However, Lu Ming was certain that this lattice abilities were definitely above the 2 half-step divine king geniuses of the Qin clan. "I don't know you, why do you want to kill me?" "Did the Jin family or the Qin family send you?" Lu Ming said coldly. He didn't know this woman at all, but she wanted to kill him the moment they met. There was only one explanation, and that was that the Jin and Qin families had asked her to kill him, just like the big-nosed young man from before. "What Jin and Qin clan? It has nothing to do with me. I want to kill you." The Absolute Beauty said coldly. The aura on her body grew stronger. She took a step forward and rushed into the land of the Cold Nether. Another sword light burst out and slashed at Lu Ming. "Ancient God Body! Ancient God Body!" Lu Ming roared. He activated his Ancient God Body and turned into a green-armored Ancient God. He waved his spear and a crescent-shaped spear light slashed out, blocking the opponent's attack. "You have some strength." The Absolute Beauty clearly did not expect Lu Ming to be able to block her attack. She was slightly stunned and her gaze turned even colder. Boom! A terrifying aura rushed out of the beautiful woman's body. It was filled with an ancient aura. This is the origin divine power factor. This B** teach has awakened the origin divine power factor. Lu Ming was really shocked. A half-step divine king who had awakened the origin divine power factor would be able to pass through the heaven gate. Previously, there were a total of 4 people from the universal camp who had revealed their cultivation base. Now, it seemed like there was someone who had hidden her cultivation base and strength, and that person was this woman. Or perhaps, this woman had entered Star Moon Ancient City after Lu Ming had. No matter what, this level of ability was definitely not something that Lu Ming could withstand. The difference in combat strength was too great. Let's go! Without thinking, Lu Ming turned and left, rushing toward the depths of the land of the cold nether. Chapter 3000 Crazy Woman. Lu Ming rushed into the cold nether forbidden ground, hoping to use the cold air in the forbidden ground to shake off the beautiful woman. However, the absolute Bowtie's killing intent towards him was very strong, and she had no intention of letting him go. Lu Ming, die! The absolute beauty shouted. In a flash, she also rushed into the land of the cold nether and chased after Lu Ming. However, after the beautiful woman entered the land of cold nether, her body paused slightly, and her speed slowed down slightly. The chi of the cold nether will affect him. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The Hades chi was extremely cold and the temperature was extremely low. Lu Ming was able to withstand the Hades chi without being affected because he had cultivated the lunar divine technique and had the lunar divine energy in his body. However, the divine power that the beautiful woman cultivated clearly had nothing to do with cold power, so she needed to circulate divine power to block the cold energy. Her speed was naturally affected. Even so, the absolute Bowtie speed was still faster than Lu Ming's. The distance between them was constantly closing. You can't escape. The beautiful woman's eyes were filled with murderous intent. She looked as if she could not wait to cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. What benefits did the Jin and Qin families give you to kill me? I can give you double the benefits. Lu Ming roared. What bullsh** T Jin and Qin families? What right do they have to ask me to kill you? The absolute beauty said coldly. Not the Jin and Qin families? Which force was it? Is it the force that has been colluding with the Dark Ice Clan? Lu Ming's heart suddenly moved and he immediately shouted, I know who you are. The person behind you has colluded with the Dark Ice Clan to steal the 9 absolute divine crystal. How dare you? This is a crime that will result in your entire family being exterminated. Lu Ming roared loudly, trying to scare the other party. Nonsense. If I want to kill you, it has nothing to do with anyone else. The absolute beauty sneered coldly and slashed out a beam of sword chi, almost hitting Lu Ming. Lu Ming was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. It has nothing to do with anyone else, and you want to kill me? This time, Lu Ming was really dumbfounded. When did he offend this crazy woman? Young lady, if I remember correctly, I have never offended you. Could it be that I was drunk and did you? No, if you really have me, why don't I feel anything? Lu Ming shouted and was even more puzzled. Pervert, die! Hearing Lu Ming's words, the absolute beauty was even more furious. She shouted and a few sword lights slashed at Lu Ming's face. Lu Ming hurriedly cast the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique to dodge, but his shoulder was still grazed by a sword gleam. The green scales were cut open and blood flowed out. Lu Ming was so frightened that he shivered. His opponent was a half-step divine king and had awakened the origin divine power factor. His attack was terrifyingly sharp and his green scale armor could not block it at all. How did I become a perverted bandit again? Lu Ming was shocked and furious. If not for the fact that he was not the other party's match, he would definitely take the other party down and let him know what a perverted bandit was. But now, Lu Ming could only run for his life. He specifically ran towards places with dense frosty chi and used the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique to the extreme. Even so, it was still very dangerous, and not long after, several wounds appeared on his body. This crazy woman, why is she chasing me? Lu Ming was really speechless. His eyes were flashing with ruthlessness. He was thinking quickly in his heart, trying to come up with a plan to kill the other party. Lu Ming would not show mercy just because the other party was a beautiful woman. Rustle, rustle. At this moment, Lu Ming heard a rustling sound in front of him. There's living being here. Lu Ming was not shocked. Instead, he was happy. The appearance of living creatures at this moment was beneficial to Lu Ming. Buzz. Lu Ming's figure flashed and he rushed towards the source of the sound. Not long after, a huge creature appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was a huge, snow-white centipede that was at least 100 meters long. It crawled on the mountain. At that moment, the giant centipede pounced at Lu Ming the moment it saw him. CSI. Before the giant centipede even reached him, it opened its mouth and spat out a thick gray mist. At the same time, a terrifying chill gushed toward Lu Ming. Even Lu Ming's body stiffened. It was also the frosty chi, but the temperature was even lower. It was as if the space had frozen. Lu Ming circulated the divine power of the moon with all his might. At the same time, he used the 9 ice chains to protect himself and blocked the invasion of the cold air. At the same time, Lu Ming dodged the giant centipede's attack in a flash. However, the giant centipede twisted its body and its row of sharp claws slashed at Lu Ming like a divine knife. Lu Ming was shocked and raised his spear to block it. Clang! Lu Ming's body shook violently and he was sent flying. However, at this time, the beautiful woman had also caught up. She was also enveloped by the giant centipede's cold air. Her body stiffened, and her speed suddenly decreased. However, she had awakened the origin divine power factor. She circulated her divine power and still blocked the attack of the cold air. Buzz! The giant centipede had forced Lu Ming to retreat with one attack. When it saw the beautiful woman, it immediately let out a screech. Its body bounced and it charged at the beautiful woman again. Get lost! The absolute beauty was very domineering. Sword light burst out and cut the giant centipede's body. The giant centipede was powerful. It was a half-step divine king. With the armor it was wearing, it had a strong defense. However, it still couldn't withstand the attack from the beautiful woman. The sword light cut through the centipede's armor and left a deep wound. This crazy woman's strength is amazing. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. If such an attack landed on him, he would probably be cut in half. CSI. The giant centipede was injured and seemed to have fallen into a state of fury. It screamed crazily and made a sharp sound. It kept spewing out terrifying cold air towards the beautiful woman. The giant centipede only had eyes for the beautiful woman. It could not be bothered with Lu Ming. Wherever the cold air passed, even the cold nether energy floating in the air was frozen. It was clear how terrifying the cold air was. The absolute beauty had to concentrate on defending. At the same time, she slashed out sword lights towards the giant centipede. The two of them started fighting. How could Lu Ming miss such an opportunity? He executed the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique to the extreme, transformed into a Kunpeng, and left the place in a flash. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had gone far away. I've finally gotten rid of this crazy woman. Who is this crazy woman? Did the Qin and Jin families send people to kill me, or did they collude with the Dark Ice clan to kill me? Lu Ming guessed in his heart. Not long after, Lu Ming was hundreds of thousands of miles deep into the land of the cold nether. The Hellfrost chi here was getting thicker and thicker. Occasionally, Lu Ming would discover some living creatures. However, these living beings were all extremely terrifying. The weakest of them was a 9th-level heavenly god, while the majority of them were half-step divine kings. Wife, you're here. This kind of living being was of the cold attribute and was like a fish in water in the chi of the cold underworld. Moreover, in such an environment, this kind of creature's strength could be exerted to 120%, which was much stronger than the outside world. As for the others, if they did not control the divine-grade divine power of the cold attribute, their strength would be greatly reduced when they entered this place. No wonder it was called a forbidden area. It was indeed very dangerous for ordinary geniuses to enter. Boom! Lu Ming was flying when the mountains and the ground suddenly shook. Then, Lu Ming saw an ice mountain flying over from a distance and crashing down on him. Lu Ming was shocked and dodged quickly. He retreated 100 miles in an instant to avoid the ice mountain. Boom. It was really an ice mountain with an energy level of 1,000 meters. It crashed heavily in front of Lu Ming and the ground shook continuously. And NBSP hoo-hoo. A whistling sound was heard in the air, and then a large black shadow was cast down from the sky. More icebergs came crashing toward Lu Ming. There was not only one but several of them in succession. What's going on? Lu Ming was speechless. He retreated and dodged continuously. However, the icebergs continued to smash down and finally, there was one that Lu Ming could not avoid. Moon slaying. Lu Ming held the spear with both hands and swung it down. Boom. The spear radiance struck the ice mountain, causing a violent boom. The ice mountain shattered, and Lu Ming was sent flying by a terrifying force. After retreating 100 miles, his chi and blood were in turmoil. What a terrifying power! What is it? Lu Ming stared ahead. And NBSP he was maintaining his ancient god body, so his strength was astonishing, but he had still almost been injured. And NBSO. At this moment, a roar came from the distance. Then, a huge creature rushed over. That's... Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. This time, it was not an iceberg but a giant ape that was charging at him. This giant ape was huge and was thousands of meters tall. It was even bigger than the ice mountain from before. Lu Ming knew that the giant ape was the one who threw the icebergs. Boom! The giant ape stepped on an ice mountain, causing it to explode. Ice shards flew in all directions, and the ground shook violently. A ferocious aura gushed out and surged towards Lu Ming. A pair of huge eyes stared at Lu Ming, filled with killing intent. The giant ape bellowed in rage and stomped on the ground, blasting a huge pit in the ground. Its huge body pounced toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming had transformed into an ancient god and was more than 200 meters tall. However, in front of the giant ape, he was not even an infant. A fist larger than a mountain came crashing toward Lu Ming, bringing with it a terrifying gust of wind. Retreat, retreat. Lu Ming did not dare to take it head-on and retreated rapidly. However, the opponent's fist force was too powerful. The air kept exploding and Lu Ming's speed was greatly affected. There was no other way. In the end, Lu Ming could only take it head-on. Star explosion. Lu Ming cast his strongest move. A huge spear ray burst out and stabbed at the giant ape. When the spear's radiance was about to approach the giant ape, it exploded with a loud bang. Boom! The force spread in all directions, but Lu Ming felt a terrifying force surging towards him. Lu Ming's body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Retreat! Lu Ming made use of this force to retreat rapidly. Coupled with the speed of the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique, he retreated tens of thousands of miles in an instant. Then, Lu Ming turned around and dashed backward rapidly. The giant ape roared angrily and chased after Lu Ming. This giant ape has such terrifying strength. I'm afraid that it has also awakened a power similar to the origin divine power factor in its body. Lu Ming pondered. The living beings now could be considered the descendants of the original gods. More or less, they all had a trace of the bloodline of the original gods. It was the same even for those wild beasts and divine beasts. Therefore, many dire beasts and vicious beasts would awaken powers similar to the origin divine power factor, which was very terrifying. It was obvious that this giant ape had awakened a similar power. Its abilities were very shocking. Lu Ming was no match for it at all. He was not its match even when he used the supernova and was injured in an instant. Lu Ming transformed into a Kunpeng and flew at high speed. However, the giant ape's speed was extremely shocking and it chased closely after Lu Ming. Very quickly, a few minutes passed. Suddenly, Lu Ming saw a sword light coming at him at high speed. It's her? Lu Ming's gaze flickered. The owner of the sword gleam was the beautiful woman who had chased after Lu Ming previously. Seeing this woman, Lu Ming was not shocked. Instead, he was overjoyed. Without thinking, he immediately rushed toward the beautiful woman. At the next moment, the absolute beauty also saw Lu Ming. When she saw Lu Ming rushing toward her instead, she could not help but be stunned. She did not quite understand why Lu Ming suddenly rushed toward her. However, she immediately understood. It was because she saw the giant ape. She understood that Lu Ming wanted to use her to fight against the giant ape. However, was this possible? The beautiful woman's eyes were filled with cold light. She was about to make a move when she and the giant ape attacked from the front and back, killing Lu Ming. "Honey, it's great that you're here. Let's kill that giant ape together," Lu Ming shouted.
What?
The absolute beauty was stunned again. The next moment, she reacted and screamed, "You, shameless!" However, Lu Ming was already not far away from the absolute beauty.
What?
The giant ape roared. It stretched out a huge palm and grabbed at the ground. A huge ice mountain was conjured. With a wave of its hand, the huge ice mountain smashed towards Lu Ming, shrouding the beautiful woman within. "Honey, help!" Lu Ming shouted and dodged to the left and right, avoiding the iceberg. This was Lu Ming's plan. This giant ape had such a high cultivation level, so it must be very intelligent. It would definitely be able to understand what they were saying. Therefore, when Lu Ming called out, "Wife," the giant ape would definitely mistake the beautiful woman for Lu Ming's gang. Naturally, its attack would also envelop the beautiful woman. Obviously, Lu Ming's plan had succeeded. Being enveloped by the ice mountain, the absolute beauty could only fight back. A bright sword light burst out and cut the ice mountain in half. "This crazy woman is really powerful," Lu Ming thought to himself. Just now, he had experienced the terror of the giant ape. However, the absolute beauty had split the ice mountain with a single sword strike. Her strength was shocking. The giant ape's gaze also turned to the absolute beauty. The absolute beauty gave it a strong pressure, making it instinctively feel a trace of danger. Therefore, the giant ape roared and pounced on the beautiful woman, leaving Lu Ming behind. To it, Lu Ming was not dangerous. On the contrary, the beautiful woman was. Of course, it had to eliminate the danger first. The mountain-like fist was aimed at the beautiful woman, and she could only counterattack. Buzz! The sound of the sword resounded through the 9 heavens as a glass-like sword light, over 10,000 meters long, slashed towards the giant ape. Boom! Boom! The two of them engaged in a great battle. The entire place was in chaos and razed to the ground. Supreme Cold Treasure, good lord, this strength is even stronger than the Night Demon King. Lu Ming was speechless as he watched the battle between the absolute beauty and the giant ape. Both the absolute beauty and the giant ape had yet to reach the Divine King realm, but their battle prowess was definitely at the Divine King realm. An ordinary one-stage Divine King like the Night Demon King was most likely not that powerful. This was a heaven's favorite who could fight across a large realm. "Wife, help your husband block this beast first. Your husband will go and find someone to help." Naturally, Lu Ming would not miss such a good opportunity. After leaving behind those words, he disappeared in a flash. "Despicable, shameless, you're courting death," the beautiful woman shouted angrily. She was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Her beautiful face was flushed red. She secretly swore that the next time she saw Lu Ming, she would definitely cut him into pieces to vent her hatred. At the thought that Lu Ming actually called her his wife, she gnashed her teeth in hatred. Could it be that this guy knows? Impossible. Even if I knew, I would still kill him. The absolute beauty gritted her teeth and focused on dealing with the giant ape in front of her. Lu Ming was running at full speed. It did not take long for him to transform into his human form. He had been using the ancient god body all this while, and it was very draining on him. After transforming into his human form, Lu Ming flew for a while and found a hidden ice cave. He flew in. After taking a closer look, he realized that there were no other living beings in the ice cave. Lu Ming moved a piece of ice and blocked the ice cave. Then he sat cross-legged and circulated the universe Thousand Tao scripture to recover. After a few days, Lu Ming's divine power and physical strength had recovered to their peak. It's a pity that Qiuqiu can't come in here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in such a sorry state. Lu Ming sighed. No one below the God King level could enter Star Moon Ancient City. Qiuqiu was a metallic life form, so it naturally couldn't enter either. Otherwise, with Qiuqiu's strength, it could easily suppress existences like the Absolute Beauty and the Giant Ape. I must quickly find the treasure of Jihan and improve my strength. Lu Ming secretly gritted his teeth. During this period of time, he was repeatedly hunted down, and he really had a stomach full of pent-up anger. He got up and left the ice cave. Lu Ming continued to venture deeper into the nether cold land. Lu Ming, the cold qi is extremely dense in the 8,000-mile area ahead. There might be a treasure of extreme cold. The voice of the quantity formula sounded. The quantity formula was extremely sensitive to energy fluctuations. Lu Ming asked the quantity formula to help him search for treasures with cold energy. 8,000 miles ahead. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he flew forward. Not long after, an ice lake appeared in front of them. This ice lake wasn't big, but the cold air was shockingly dense. It was many times denser than other places. Lu Ming, the source of the cold qi, is under the lake. However, I'm afraid that there's a creature guarding the lake. The quantity formula said. There's a living creature guarding it. What's its cultivation level? Lu Ming asked. I don't know about this. You can go down and find it yourself. The quantity formula said. Lu Ming was speechless. In the end, he still decided to take a look. Since he had already come this far, it would be a pity if he didn't explore. With a plop, Lu Ming rushed into the ice lake. Not long after, voila! The frozen lake churned violently, stirring up thousands of waves. A white python could be seen rolling in the middle. At the same time, rays of spear light burst out from the ice lake. They were extremely bright. A few moments passed. Buzz! A figure dashed out of the frozen lake. It was Lu Ming. After Lu Ming rushed out, he cast the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique and transformed into a 9 heavenly Kunpeng, leaving the place at great speed. While a 1,000-meter-long python rushed out of the ice lake. It looked up to the sky and roared, but it didn't pursue in the end. It swam around the ice lake for a while before returning to the lake. 10,000 miles away from the frozen lake, Lu Ming sat on an ice seal. He opened his palm and there was a crystal-like stone the size of a dragon's eye on it. It exuded a shocking cold air. This was the treasure that Lu Ming had brought out from the ice lake. Old Liang, how is this ice jade crystal? How much energy can it help you refine from the star core? Lu Ming asked in anticipation. Not much. The quantity formula only had 2 words. Not much. Lu Ming was a little disappointed. Although this ice jade crystal is a treasure of the extreme cold attribute, it's still not as good as the ice jade heart or the ball of cold liquid you obtained before. It's only stronger than the cold moonstone, and it's too small. The quantity formula explained. It seems that I have to continue looking for it. Forget it, you can absorb this ice jade crystal first. I will continue to look for other cold attribute treasures. Lu Ming said. He then let the quantity formula absorb the ice jade crystal. For the next half a month, Lu Ming went around the cold nether forbidden grounds in search of supreme cold treasures. He found a total of 3, but unfortunately, they weren't of particularly high level. They were all treasures of the same level as the ice jade crystal, but it was better than nothing. One day, Lu Ming was walking in an ice valley. The quantity formula told him that the energy fluctuation of the cold air in this ice valley was also very abnormal and very dense. After moving forward for a while, there was nothing unusual. Lu Ming was rather surprised that there were no living creatures guarding this place. This is a 9-petaled ice lotus. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. At the end of the ice valley, a lotus flower grew on a wall. It was crystal clear like jade and emitted a strong chill. This was the first time Lu Ming had seen a plant in the cold nether forbidden grounds. Moreover, it was a cold attribute divine medicine. The 9-petaled ice lotus had a total of 9 petals, which was very different from other lotus flowers. However, Lu Ming had once read in an ancient book that the 9-petaled ice lotus was the best among the cold attribute divine herbs. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This 9-petaled ice lotus was definitely a treasure of the cold attribute that was better than the ice jade crystal. After absorbing it with the quantity formula, It would definitely help him refine a lot of energy from the star core. Lu Ming's figure flashed as he stepped forward. He used his divine power to form a large hand and picked the 9-petaled ice lotus. And NBSP, but at this moment, several figures appeared above the ice valley. There were a total of 5 young people, both men and women, all wearing white robes. As soon as they appeared, their eyes fell on the 9-petaled ice lotus in Lu Ming's hand. "Kid, hand over the 9-petaled ice lotus." One of the young men shouted coldly, and an icy cold aura enveloped Lu Ming. "I found it first, so why should I hand it over to you?" Lu Ming said indifferently. "You discovered it first." "What a joke. We discovered this 9-petaled ice lotus a long time ago. Previously, there were dire beasts guarding this place, and we lured them away. That's how you managed to get your way. Do you understand?" A young man with snow-white hair said coldly. "Attract the desolate beasts?" Lu Ming was stunned. However, the next moment he knew that the other party was lying. The other party's reason did not seem to have any problems, but upon careful thought, it was full of loopholes. There were 5 people on the other side. Was there a need for 5 people to act together to attract the dire beasts? You are not qualified to kill him. There were a total of 5 people on the other side. There was no need for all 5 of them to work together to attract the desolate beasts. As long as a few of them attracted the desolate beasts, the other few could easily pick the 9-petal ice lotus. Who would be so foolish to attract the dire beasts together and leave the treasures here? Therefore, Lu Ming knew that the other party was lying after some thought. Sneering coldly, Lu Ming kept the 9-petaled ice lotus in his storage ring. "Kid, it seems like you're not going to hand it over?" The white-haired youth's eyes were cold, and the coldness on his body became stronger and stronger. The other party clearly also cultivated cold attribute divine-grade divine power, so he was not afraid of the cold nether energy here. "Since I've already obtained it, how can I hand it over?" Lu Ming smiled faintly. Very good, very good." The white-haired youth nodded. "Lu Ming, your talent is not bad. You've crossed the heavenly gates. However, your cultivation is only at the 4th level celestial deity realm. Do you think you can swallow the 9-petal ice lotus in front of us with such a cultivation?" After saying that, the white-haired young man's aura completely bloomed. Half-step divine king. The white-haired young man was a half-step divine king. However, Lu Ming could tell at a glance that the other party had not awakened the divine power factor. At the same time, the rest of them moved in a flash and surrounded Lu Ming, each of them exuding a powerful aura. Another half-step divine king. The other 3 were also 9th-level celestial deity existences. However, no one had awakened the origin divine power factor. The origin divine power factor was not that easy to awaken. There were so many prodigies below the divine king realm in the Star Battalion, but only 4 of them had passed the heavenly gate. Including the beautiful lady, there were only 5 of them. Naturally, he wouldn't encounter a person who had awakened the origin divine power factor. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. He was not afraid. As long as he had not awakened the divine power factor, Lu Ming was not afraid of even a half-step divine king. Even if he could not defeat them, he could still escape. "Lu Ming, I've given you a chance just now, but you didn't cherish it. Now, not only will you hand over the 9-petaled ice lotus, but you'll also have to hand over everything else you have. Also, open up your Dantian and Sea of Consciousness. Let us search. We can consider sparing your life." The white-haired youth spoke again, his eyes flashing with greed. He thought of how Lu Ming was able to cross the heavenly gates with just a 4th-level celestial deity. He must have had a great opportunity on him. Now, not only did he want the 9-petaled ice lotus, but he also wanted the opportunity on Lu Ming. He even had an even more vicious plan in mind. He planned to wait for Lu Ming to hand over all the treasures before crippling his cultivation and imprisoning him. He would then slowly dig out all the secrets on Lu Ming. At the thought of being able to obtain Lu Ming's secret and rise to the top, his heart burned with passion. "It seems that you are quite ambitious." Lu Ming sneered coldly and was ready to find an opening to escape. However, at this moment, Lu Ming's expression changed, and he looked at the sky. In the sky, a sword light appeared, and then the figure of a beautiful woman appeared. Lu Ming's face turned bitter. If this wasn't that absolute beauty, who could it be? Enemies really meet on a narrow road, meeting again. Lu Ming's mouth was full of bitterness. He had just been surrounded by the white-haired young man and the rest, and now there was a beautiful woman. This situation was not good for Lu Ming. He was confident that he could get rid of the white-haired young man and the others, but with the addition of the absolute beauty, he had no way to escape. We're in trouble, Lu Ming mumbled. Of course, he would not give up. His mind whirred as he tried to find a way to escape. What a beautiful woman! When the white-haired youth and the others saw the beautiful woman, they couldn't help but be stunned. You guys get lost. The absolute Bowtie's gaze swept across the white-haired young man and the others as she coldly shouted. His words made the white-haired young man and the others' faces turn ugly. It seems that you and this kid are in cahoots. Little girl, I'm afraid that you alone won't be enough to save him. The white-haired youth sneered. Who's going to save him? I'm going to kill him. The absolute beauty said coldly. Kill him? This time, the white-haired youth and the others were stunned again. They initially thought that the absolute beauty was here to save Lu Ming. They did not expect that she was here to kill him. Miss, you're here to kill him? Huh, it seems like we're on the same side. This brat stole our treasure, so we have to kill him too. Why don't I kill this brat on your behalf? I don't want him to dirty your hands. The white-haired youth laughed. The moment he heard that the absolute beauty was also here to kill Lu Ming, the white-haired young man immediately changed his attitude. He looked as if he wanted to get closer to the absolute beauty. If he wants to die, he can only die in my hands. Are you not qualified to kill him? However, the absolute beauty clearly didn't appreciate it and continued to speak coldly. Lu Ming was also stunned. He couldn't figure out the tricks of this beautiful woman at all. Since she wanted to kill Lu Ming, what was the difference between her killing him and the others killing him? Why must Lu Ming die in her hands? At this moment, even Lu Ming could not help but suspect that he had really drunk too much and done something to let the lady down. However, he had no impression of it at all. He didn't feel anything at all. If it was true, he would have suffered a great loss. The white-haired youth and company were also dazed. They didn't understand what the absolute beauty meant. It seems that you want to save him, the white-haired youth said coldly. He guessed that the absolute beauty wanted to save Lu Ming and deliberately said that she wanted to kill him to deceive them. Get lost. The absolute beauty shouted coldly. If you're really in cahoots, then I'll take you down as well. The white-haired young man's face darkened, and a powerful aura enveloped the beautiful woman. Bang. Then, the white-haired young man took a step forward and stretched out his palm. A huge palm formed. This palm was made of ice and was filled with a terrible chill. It grabbed at the beautiful woman. You're overestimating yourself. And NBSP, the absolute Bowtie's eyes turned cold, and she exuded an ancient aura. Then, the absolute beauty waved her hand, and a sword light suddenly appeared, slashing toward the white-haired young man. With a poof, the big hand formed by the white-haired young man was directly split in half. The sword light did not stop and continued to cut towards the white-haired young man. Origin Divine Power Factor. You've awakened the Origin Divine Power Factor. The white-haired young man roared in fear and retreated. At the same time, a shield flew out from his forehead. Buzz. The sword light struck the shield, causing sparks to fly. The shield was sent flying, and a deep crack appeared on it. The white-haired youth's face was deathly pale. This was a 9th-level upper-grade defensive divine artifact, yet it was directly broken through by the other party's sword. The rest of the young men also looked horrified. They could not help but retreat to keep a distance from the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman took a step forward, and her sword soared into the sky. Wait a minute, it's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. The white-haired youth shouted in fear. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.